Chapter 1470. Miss Longfeng nodded and said, "What Fei Yang said makes sense. After all, we don't know what's down there. It's better to be careful." Luo Qingzhu glanced at Miss Longfeng, then looked at Ling Yunfei and said, "I've told you countless times not to be so anxious when something happens. Why can't you change? I was just saying it casually. Is there a need for all of you to attack me together?" Ling Yunfei's face was filled with grievance. However, he glanced at Miss Longfeng and Luo Qingzhu from the corner of his eyes. His gaze was somewhat intriguing. Qin Feiyang transmitted his voice, all right, hurry up and dig." Another moment passed. The rocks around them had almost piled up to the brim. Finally, wisps of white light shot out from the cracks in the rocks. "We've reached the end." Everyone was in high spirits. "You guys back off first. This place is probably empty. Don't step on it." "I'll do it alone," Qin Feiyang said. Ling Yunfei and the rest immediately retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang carefully lifted one stone after another. The light became more and more dazzling. But that cold air also became more and more terrifying. The surrounding water seemed to be about to freeze. The group of people couldn't help but rub their hands. The temperature here was even colder than a world of ice and snow. Qin Feiyang raised his brows slightly. "Why don't we evaporate the water here first?" Zhou Zheng suggested. "Don't." Qin Feiyang waved his hand. To evaporate the water, one needed to use battle qi. The things at the bottom of the lake were still unknown. What if they were damaged by battle qi? Although the water temperature was extremely low, it was not a threat to the battle emperor. There was no need to take the risk. Qin Feiyang continued to move the rocks. Boom! Suddenly, the rocks under his feet all collapsed in an instant, revealing a 3 to 4 meter hole. Qin Feiyang also fell down. The expressions of Ling Yunfei and the rest changed. They hurriedly ran to the entrance of the cave and looked down. They immediately saw a stone room. That's right. It was a stone room. It was square. It was about 10 meters in diameter. The stone room was also filled with water. At this moment, Qin Feiyang was standing in the stone room, still in a state of shock. "Are you okay?" The Longfeng Pavilion's young miss asked with concern as she looked at Qin Feiyang. "I'm fine." Qin Feiyang shook his head and began to look around the stone room. The water temperature here was even lower. The cold air was like a tide, crazily rushing into Qin Feiyang's body, causing his limbs to feel numb and stiff. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang fixed his eyes on the center of the stone chamber. Not only Qin Feiyang, but Ling Yunfei and the others also jumped down one after another. Looking at the center of the stone chamber, their eyes were filled with amazement. In the center of the stone room, there were 3 floating crystals. These 3 crystals were of the same size, only the size of an infant's fist. They had distinct edges and corners, like 3 crystals, sparkling and translucent, suffused with a hazy radiance. "What is it? I've never seen it before." Li Jian asked in surprise. "I've seen it," Qin Feiyang said word by word. Li Jian looked at Qin Feiyang, and realized that Qin Feiyang was clenching his fists tightly, his expression filled with excitement. "What is it?" Li Jian asked. Qin Feiyang said, "Sunflower water essence." "That's right. It's the sunflower water essence. Treasures formed naturally by heaven and earth are even rarer than phoenix feathers and qilin horns. But I never thought that there would be 3 of them here," Ling Yunfei said. "Most importantly, it is a material used to refine 5 elements universe Dan," Qin Feiyang said. 5 elements universe Dan? What kind of pill is this?" Li Jian and Zhou Zheng were surprised. Qin Feiyang looked at the two of them and said, "A pill that can allow the War King to break through a small realm in an instant." What? Their eyes trembled. One had to know. The War King was not a War King, but a War Emperor. There was a huge gap between each small realm in the War King. It was even more difficult to break through a small realm. Of course. Opening the door of potential was another matter. However, in this world, how many people could open the door of potential? Basically, it was a down-to-earth cultivation. Therefore, in their eyes, the five elements universe Dan was a divine pill. To the creatures of this world, especially those who had already broken through to the War King but had yet to step into the 9-star War King, it was a fatal temptation. Li Jian and Zhou Zheng instinctively reached out to grab the 3 sunflower water essence. "Don't move." Qin Feiyang and Ling Yunfei's expressions changed as they shouted in unison. "What's wrong?" The two of them quivered and immediately turned to look at Qin Feiyang and Ling Yunfei. Qin Feiyang said in a deep voice, "According to the pill scripture, the sunflower water essence cannot be touched with your hands." "Why?" The two of them were startled and asked suspiciously. Qin Feiyang said, "Once you touch it with your hands, it will immediately melt and turn into a pool of water. Then, it will no longer have any value." When the two of them heard this, they immediately retracted their arms and cried out. "That was close." Li Jian said, "Then what do we have to do so that they won't melt?" "Jade artifact. And it must be a flawless jade." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and a jade box appeared. In the mortal world, any piece of jade, as long as it was authentic, was enough for a family to live for a long time. A flawless jade was naturally more valuable. It was enough for a family to live a carefree life for the rest of their lives. However, for a Xiozha, especially one with Qin Feiyang's cultivation, the value of jade was not great. Similarly, in the eyes of cultivators, jade was not that precious. For example, Qin Feiyang's universe bag was filled with countless jade artifacts, and they were basically all precious jade. At this moment, the jade box he took out was completely dark green and bright. There was not the slightest flaw to be found. "Go." Qin Feiyang handed the jade box to Li Jian. Li Jian nodded, grabbed the jade box and walked over. He carefully put the 3 pieces of Kuei water essence into the jade box, then closed the lid, turned to Qin Feiyang, and handed it to Qin Feiyang. "Thank you." Just as Qin Feiyang reached out to take it, a laugh suddenly rang out. Following closely, a figure appeared out of thin air, took the jade box, and quickly retreated to the side. Qin Feiyang and the others were stunned. They quickly turned their heads to look, and their faces suddenly became gloomy. This person who suddenly appeared, who else could it be but Lu Xingchen? Qin Feiyang said angrily, "Why are you here? I clearly let the Crocodile Emperor and the others guard outside." Lu Xingchen opened the jade box, glanced at the 3 pieces of Kuei water essence, then closed the lid again, looked up at Qin Feiyang, and laughed, "You are too naive. With just these 4 small fries, how can they stop me?" Ling Yunfei said in a deep voice, "But we really didn't hear any sounds of fighting above. I didn't fight with them at all. Even now, they don't know that I'm here." Lu Xingchen laughed. "How did you do it?" Qin Feiyang said. "It's very simple. I followed you all the way. But I didn't go inside the valley, but above it. When I saw you enter the pool and didn't appear for a long time, I guessed that you might have found something. So, I used the Space Divine item to sneak in here." Lu Xingchen said. "Your Space Divine item can fly?" Qin Feiyang frowned. "No. But you also know that once a person enters the Space Divine item, the Space Divine item will be exposed outside. And because of the rule power here, the exposed space divine item can't float in the void and will take the initiative to sink. So, as long as I find the right place to jump down from above the valley and enter the space divine item, the exposed space divine item will naturally sink directly into the pool. Lu Xingchen laughed. Amazing. Qin Feiyang's face was gloomy. You flatter me, I learned it from you. However, I really have to thank you. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have found these 3 pieces of Kuei water essence. Lu Xingchen laughed. Do you think you can take away the Kuei water essence when it's in your hands? Ling Yunfei smiled coldly. Before he could finish his sentence, a group of people immediately surrounded Lu Xingchen without a word. Lu Xingchen glanced at the group of people, looked at Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu, and said with a smile, although I haven't seen you in the spiritual state before, I've heard of your names. What do you want to say? Ling Yunfei said. Lu Xingchen asked curiously, I want to know why you didn't die. Moreover, in these few short years, his cultivation has actually surpassed mine and brother Qin's. This is too outrageous. Ling Yunfei said, I'll tell you when you're about to die. Die? You don't think that just because I fell in your hands once, you can really compete with me, Lu Xingchen? Lu Xingchen raised the corner of his mouth, his face full of contempt. Whether you can or not, you'll know after you try. Do it. Ling Yunfei suddenly shouted coldly. Except for Qin Feiyang, everyone's aura burst out. The pool instantly turned into ashes. The entire valley was also collapsing and shaking. What's going on? The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts were shocked. In my eyes, you're not even as good as ants. Lu Xingchen glanced at Ling Yunfei and the others. A wisp of divine consciousness emerged, and divine power rolled in all directions. The mountains and valleys above directly collapsed. The Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts were directly buried below. Bastard, what the hell is going on? The 4 beasts roared and revealed their true forms, their ferocious auras overflowing. Ah! At the next moment, accompanied by a few screams, Ling Yunfei and the others flew out from the ground. But they didn't fly out by themselves. They were blasted out. Their bodies were dripping with blood, and their faces were pale. The Ant Emperor hurriedly jumped up and caught them with his back. He asked in surprise, how did you get injured? What exactly happened down there? It's Lu Xingchen. What a powerful divine consciousness. With our current strength, we can't stop it at all. The 6 of them were horrified. When the Crocodile Emperor and the other beasts were buried, Lu Xingchen also attacked them. In just the blink of an eye, they were seriously injured. Lu Xingchen. Why is he here? Where's the boss? The Ant Emperor shouted. Boom! Before he finished speaking, a deafening sound came from the ground, and the ground in front of them cracked. Lu Xingchen rushed up with a wisp of divine consciousness. How dare you appear in front of me, you're courting death. The Scorpion Emperor raised his huge tail and spat out a large amount of venom, rushing toward Lu Xingchen like a waterfall. You're the one courting death. When we were on the plains, I seem to have said that I would let you see my strength. Chapter 1471. That divine sense was like a divine arrow with a terrifying aura that could destroy heaven and earth. The Scorpion King's venom had no power to fight back and was instantly annihilated. Immediately after. It was unknown if Lu Xingchen intended to take revenge, but his divine sense directly blasted towards the Scorpion King's huge tail. Ah! With a scream, the Scorpion King's huge tail was instantly shattered and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. This is the price for sneaking an attack on me. Lu Xingchen's eyes were filled with killing intent. His divine sense turned in the air and swept towards the Scorpion King's forehead like lightning. Crocodile Emperor. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House shouted. Roar! The crocodile emperor roared and quickly rushed over, using its body to block the divine sense for the scorpion king. Boom! The divine sense blasted onto the crocodile emperor. Although the crocodile emperor had armor to protect its body, it was still sent flying. The armor was not damaged. After all, it was a divine artifact. But under the armor, it was a bloody mess. The Scorpion King was naturally not spared and was sent flying by the crocodile emperor. The two beasts were like meteorites, smashing through one mountain after another and finally smashing into a mountain ridge. The mountain ridge instantly collapsed. The two beasts were buried, their life and death unknown. Is this his true strength? No wonder even Boss Qin is so afraid of this person. The Ant Emperor and the Miss were both shocked. Even the Crocodile Emperor, who was wearing armor, could not block a strand of his divine sense, let alone them. Run! The Spider Emperor shouted. Run? What about Boss Qin? Don't you care about him? The Ant Emperor said angrily. The Spider Emperor roared, he hasn't appeared yet. He must be dead. Run, where there's life, there's hope. The Ant Emperor gritted its teeth and immediately fled with the Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House and the rest. Where do you think you're going? Lu Xingchen smiled disdainfully. That strand of divine sense turned into a stream of light, carrying a monstrous divine power, shaking the sky as it charged towards the Ant Emperor. You want to kill us? You don't have the ability. Ling Yunfei half-knelt on the back of the Ant Emperor and stared at Lu Xingchen with a sneer. Then, with a wave of his hand, the Emperor and Ant Emperor, the group instantly disappeared without a trace. Lu Xingchen raised his eyebrows. He actually had a spatial divine item. Lu Xingchen, it was also at this moment. A roar came from underground, filled with monstrous killing intent. Lu Xingchen frowned and retracted his divine sense. Then, he turned into a beam of light and fled into the distance without looking back. Boom! Almost at the next moment, Qin Feiyang emerged from the ground. His blood-red hair fluttered in the wind, and the murderous aura around him made him look like a god of death that had descended upon the world. Previously, he had indeed exchanged blows with Lu Xingchen. However, even though his current cultivation had been superimposed to the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm by the kill character art, he was still no match for Lu Xingchen's divine thought. There was a fist-sized bloody hole in his left shoulder, and blood was flowing out. This was what Lu Xingchen's spiritual sense had penetrated. Of course, he knew. Lu Xingchen had already shown mercy. Otherwise, that wisp of divine sense would not have passed through his shoulder, but through his head. However, he would not feel grateful just because Lu Xingchen had shown mercy. On the contrary. Right now, he really wanted to fight with Lu Xingchen. And it was a battle of life and death. Swish! He scanned his surroundings and did not see Ling Yunfei and the others. He knew that everyone must have gone to the spatial divine item. Then, he immediately used phantom steps and chased after Lu Xingchen. Although Lu Xingchen had divine sense, his speed was not very fast. For a moment, he was unable to shake off Qin Feiyang. Seeing Qin Feiyang chasing after him, he began to feel irritated. Suddenly, he braked and stopped. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, "What exactly do you want? Let's end the grudge between you and me here today." Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the 4 moves of the ruins of End incantation evolved. An invisible force roared in the sky, mountains collapsed, and the earth sank. "You are no match for me now," Lu Xingchen said angrily. A wisp of divine sense swept out and shattered the 4 moves of the ruins of End incantation. "That's right. I'm no match for you now. But what about when your divine sense is completely exhausted? Your greatest reliance is your divine sense. Without it, killing you is as easy as slaughtering a dog." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly, took out Chang Shui, and activated the battle incantation. He fearlessly faced Lu Xingqian's divine sense. In an instant, Chang Shui and divine sense met. An earth-shattering sound suddenly exploded in this world. Divine sense was instantly annihilated. Lu Xingqian spat out a mouthful of blood. Chang Shui, on the other hand, was unharmed. However, Qin Feiyang's arm was shattered, and blood flowed out. Chang Shui also fell to the ground. His entire body was sent flying and smashed into a giant mountain. Chang Shui. Lu Xingqian did not look at Qin Feiyang. The first thing he looked at was Chang Shui, which had fallen to the ground, and his eyes were full of greed. It's finally mine. He licked his lips and immediately rushed toward Chang Shui. But at this moment, Chang Shui vibrated and instantly rose into the air, flying in the direction of Qin Feiyang. Damn it! Lu Xingqian was instantly furious. You're the one who deserves to die. Qin Feiyang rushed out from under the collapsed giant mountain. Although one of his arms was shattered, he did not even frown. Whoosh! Chang Shui broke through the air and came over. He raised his other arm and grabbed it in his hand. An arm in exchange for a wisp of your divine sense. It's worth it. Qin Feiyang grinned and once again charged toward Lu Xingqian. Battle intent, killing intent, and purple gold dragon blood intertwined, making him look like an Asura from hell at this moment. Lu Xingqian frowned and said, "Isn't it just 3 pieces of Kuei water essence? Is it necessary to risk your life like this?" "It has nothing to do with the Kuei water essence now." Qin Feiyang's blood-red eyes flickered, more terrifying than the eyes of a demon. Lu Xingqian's heart trembled. Because he saw a determination in Qin Feiyang's eyes. Obviously, Qin Feiyang was not joking around. He wanted to settle all the grudges today. "Come on, let me see how much divine sense you've condensed over the years." Qin Feiyang roared angrily. Chang Shui emitted a piercing cold light and went straight for Lu Xingqian's throat. Looking at Chang Shui, Lu Xingqian could not help but feel a chill in his heart. "Wait until I shatter this arm of yours. Let's see how you're going to fight me." Lu Xingqian's eyes flashed with a hint of fierceness. Another wisp of divine sense emerged and blasted toward Chang Shui. "Hey!" Qin Feiyang grinned, revealing a mouthful of blood-stained teeth. Following closely, he took Chang Shui and retreated like lightning. At the same time, the ancient castle appeared, surging with dark light and blasted toward Lu Xingqian's divine sense. Boom! His divine sense was shattered and annihilated again. Qin Feiyang's body trembled and blood spurted out. His whole body flew out again and smashed into a canyon. A sinkhole appeared. But he was like a cockroach that could not be killed. He immediately got up and rushed out of the sinkhole. The ancient castle whistled and hovered above his head. "Can you shatter this arm of mine? I have the battle's secret art to protect my body and merged with the flame of life. I also have the purple gold dragon blood. It won't be that easy for you to kill me." Boom! After that, Qin Feiyang took the ancient castle and rushed toward Lu Xingqian. His body was full of murderous intent. "Lunatic. You're really a lunatic." Seeing Qin Feiyang's current state, even Lu Xingqian could not help but feel terrified. "Boss Qin, this is for you." At this moment, the crocodile emperor's roar sounded behind Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang stopped and turned around. He saw a black light breaking through the air, exuding a monstrous aura. Could it be? Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled and grabbed it in his hand. It was a black armor. It was as light as a feather and as thin as a cicada's wing. Its texture was as smooth as silk. "I have already erased the blood contract. Quickly recognize me as your master." The Crocodile Emperor shouted. We only have one request. Kill him. The Scorpion Emperor was also beside the Crocodile Emperor and roared at Qin Feiyang. I will. Qin Feiyang looked at the two beasts and murmured. Fresh blood dripped into the armor. Buzz. The armor suddenly bloomed with a ray of divine light and automatically integrated into Qin Feiyang's body. Qin Feiyang closed his eyes and could clearly feel that the armor was quickly integrating with every inch of his skin and every cell in his body. Divine artifact. Lu Xingchen looked at Qin Feiyang and the Crocodile Emperor and could not help but feel jealous. Why is it that no matter where he goes, there are people and beasts helping Qin Feiyang? Even a divine artifact was given to him without batting an eye. Why is this happening? Swish. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang opened his eyes and two beams of light burst out. He looked at Lu Xingchen and said, You are even willing to give me a divine artifact. Isn't it incredible? Lu Xingchen was silent. This is friendship. Someone like you, who only knows how to be self-centered, will never understand. Do you remember Mu Qing's father? If it weren't for Mu Qing's all-seeing eye, would you exchange the Big Dipper flame with the main tower? Qin Feiyang sneered. How do you know? Lu Xingchen frowned. What do I not know about your shady business? Let me tell you. No matter what you do, Mu Qing will betray you sooner or later because he is not a fool. Similarly, he's not a person without desires. Qin Feiyang sneered. I didn't expect the dignified Qin Feiyang to use such tricks to sow discord. Lu Xingchen said sarcastically. You are the previous emperor. You know the human heart better than I do. Do you think I am trying to sow discord? Enough. Let's not talk anymore. Let's continue our battle. Perhaps you won't be able to see the day when Mu Qing betrays you. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. A set of purple gold armor suddenly appeared on his body. It was as if it was made of divine iron and emitted a cold light. This was the armor given to him by the Crocodile Emperor. This armor could not only change its shape according to the owner's thoughts, but it could also change its color. Little crocodile, take a look. The armor on the boss is so majestic and domineering. It is just like the armor of a war god. Unlike you, it is black and ugly. Scorpion Emperor despised. This emperor is called low-key. What do you know? Crocodile Emperor snorted. The disdain in the Scorpion Emperor's eyes grew thicker as he said, Although you're a little annoying, I'm really grateful to you. If it weren't for you, I would have died under Lu Xingchen's divine sense. Thanks. Crocodile Emperor glanced at it coldly and said, Don't talk. Watch the battle. But deep in its eyes, there was a hint of a smile. Whoosh. At this moment, Spider Emperor, Ant Emperor, Ling Yunfei, and the others also ran over anxiously. When they saw the purple gold armor on Qin Feiyang, they were all surprised. Ant Emperor asked, Little Crocodile, is this your armor? Yes. Chapter 1472. You're really willing to do that? The Ant Emperor and the other four beasts looked at him in surprise. Do you think I'm so petty? In the face of a great enemy, we should unite against them. I know this principle. The Crocodile Emperor snorted. Hearing this, everyone gave it a thumbs up. Come on. At this moment, Qin Feiyang roared and rushed toward Lu Xingchen like a wild beast. The armor on his body was emitting a dazzling light. His blood-red hair fluttered and his fighting spirit soared. Everyone quickly looked up and looked a little nervous. Although Qin Feiyang was now protected by the armor, everyone had personally experienced Lu Xingchen's strength. The power of his divine consciousness was comparable to that of a pseudo-god. Qin Feiyang might not be his opponent just by relying on the armor. However, They also believed. If Qin Feiyang wasn't certain, he wouldn't have chosen to completely fall out with Lu Xingchen at this time. Come on. Everyone silently said in their hearts. Boom. Lu Xingchen glanced at Ling Yunfei and the others, then looked at Qin Feiyang. Two cold lights burst out of his eyes. Although I won't kill you, I will let you know the difference between you and me. He was like a king, with his hands behind his back, looking coldly at Qin Feiyang. As soon as he finished speaking, a wisp of divine consciousness swept out from the top of his head, turning into a dazzling divine light, illuminating the sky and charging toward Qin Feiyang. Difference, Qin Feiyang murmured. The ancient castle cut through the sky and collided with the divine consciousness. Boom! The divine consciousness was shattered on the spot. Lu Xingchen's body trembled slightly, and his face began to turn pale. Looking at Qin Feiyang at this time, he kept retreating, blood gushing out of his mouth, and his face was as pale as paper. However, this time, he wasn't blasted away like the previous 2 times. He could clearly feel that the armor helped him take a large part of the damage. This was enough to explain everything. With this set of armor, he basically had the ability to compete with Lu Xingchen. Without a doubt. This caused his confidence to soar. Boom! He took a step forward and stomped on the ground. The earth collapsed as he steadied himself. He looked up at Lu Xingchen and sneered, "The real battle has only just begun." Lu Xingchen's pupils contracted slightly. With Qin Feiyang's current state, if he did not use his spiritual consciousness, he really did not have the confidence to suppress Qin Feiyang. The threat was getting bigger and bigger. Don't think that you can compete with me just because you have a divine artifact to protect you. Murderous intent flashed in his eyes as he took the initiative to attack. I admit that no matter what I do, I'm no match for you now. However, I have the confidence to drag you down to hell with me. Qin Feiyang's aura was overwhelming. Rumble. Crack. The two of them fought madly on the ground. Wisps of spiritual consciousness exuded an aura that could destroy heaven and earth. However, Qin Feiyang was not afraid in the slightest. After being injured and falling, he did not feel depressed at all. He got up again and continued to fight. The more he fought, the braver he became. He was like an unkillable cockroach. Blood was flowing all over his body. His clothes had long been soaked in blood and fluttered in the wind. He was more like a machine. He did not know fatigue or pain. He fought to the end. His fighting spirit, his unyielding spirit, and his eyes made Lu Xingchen more and more shocked. The purple gold dragon blood and the fire of life all had amazing recovery abilities. The battle formula, armor, and 2 layers of defense allowed Qin Feiyang to ignore most of his injuries. With all these added up, the current Qin Feiyang was equivalent to having a true immortal body. It was easy to beat him down. But it was difficult to kill him. Time passed breath by breath. The two of them were locked in a fierce battle. The sky turned dark. A series of loud noises sounded continuously like thunder, shaking all directions. A destructive aura filled the air for thousands of miles. The earth caved in. Mountains and rivers collapsed. The only remaining oasis had been destroyed in an instant, including the lake. Fortunately, there was only Ling Yunfei and the others in this place. Otherwise, who knew how many living beings would have died under their confrontation? Gradually, the horizon turned white. 10 suns slowly rose. The earth also began to heat up. Ling Yunfei and the others could not help but raise their heads to look at the 10 suns in the sky. Have you guys noticed that the temperature here is different from before? Luo Qingzhu said. Everyone nodded. One word to describe it: hot. It no longer had the cool feeling from before. Obviously, all of this was related to the Kuei water essence. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house retracted her gaze and looked at the battlefield. The change in temperature is only a small matter. When their battle ends is a big matter. The two of them had been fighting for the entire night, but there was still no sign of them stopping. This area had been completely destroyed. The ground was filled with cracks and potholes. It was a tragic sight. After a night of bloody battle, there was a trace of exhaustion between their brows. Of course. In terms of injuries, Qin Feiyang's injuries were definitely more severe. However, he had the purple-gold dragon blood and had fused with the fire of life. In his body, it was equivalent to having a spring of life. Although he had been injured, his injuries were also constantly healing. After a night of battle, Lu Xingchen did not know how much consciousness he had lost. Similarly. And because of this battle, he had a deeper understanding of Qin Feiyang. This was an extremely terrifying opponent. Whether it was his brain or his strength. The 10 suns finally rose from the horizon. The earth was once again in a state of baking. While the two of them were bleeding, their sweat also dripped down. Boom! After a collision, Lu Xingchen retreated like lightning and said in a deep voice, "It's time for this boring battle to end." Qin Feiyang also took the opportunity to exhale and sneered, "After warming up for an entire night, are you finally ready to fight for real?" Ling Yunfei and the others looked at each other and could not help but smile bitterly. Such a fierce battle, and he actually said it was just a warm-up? Perhaps in today's world, only this guy dared to be so arrogant. Of course. They also knew the intention of Qin Feiyang's words. He did not want to admit defeat in front of Lu Xingchen. At the same time, hearing Qin Feiyang's words, Lu Xingchen's expression suddenly became angry and he shouted, "When I said it's over, it's over. It's not that you have to die and I have to live. So it's like that." Qin Feiyang suddenly nodded and then sneered, "However, if this battle is not over, it's not up to you to decide." Boom! He took a healing pill, and his fighting spirit and killing intent erupted again. He madly rushed towards Lu Xingchen. "You're really a madman." Lu Xingchen angrily cursed, turned around, and fled at lightning speed. On the one hand, he was really a little scared. He was afraid that Qin Feiyang would perish together with him. Because at this moment, Qin Feiyang's performance was really too crazy. He also understood Qin Feiyang. Although Qin Feiyang had already broken away from his relationship with the Qin clan, he had always been silently fighting for the Great Qin. If he continued to fight, in the end, for the Great Qin Empire, he might really perish together with him. On the other hand, it was not yet time to completely fall out with Qin Feiyang. Escape? Who are you, Lu Xingchen? No, I should say, who are you, Mu Tianyang? You actually chose to escape? Aren't you afraid of being laughed at after your identity is exposed? Qin Feiyang sneered and chased after him. Are you done or not? Lu Xingchen was extremely angry. I'm not done. From the moment you snatched the Kuei water essence and hurt Lu Yunfeng and the others, our ending was already decided. Today, either you die or I die. Qin Feiyang shouted. Phantom Steps was used to the extreme. Like a god of death, he followed Lu Xingchen from behind. What did young master say just now? Mu Tianyang? Li Jian and Lu Xingchen looked at Ling Yunfei and the others in surprise. Lu Xingchen is Mu Tianyang. Ling Yunfei said in a deep voice, and then chased after Qin Feiyang. Miss Longfeng, Luo Qingzhu, and Crocodile Emperor also quickly followed. What? Hearing Ling Yunfei's words, Li Jian and Lu Xingchen trembled. After coming back to their senses, the two quickly caught up and asked, Young Master Ling, the Mu Tianyang you mentioned, is he the previous emperor of the Tianyang Empire? Other than him, who else could it be? Ling Yunfei said. How is this possible? We heard from the imperial advisor that Renduxing is Mu Tianyang. And back then in the Magic Dragon Mountain range, Renduxing was already killed by the young master. Li Jian said. Some things are not as simple as you think. I can only tell you that whether it is Renduxing or Lu Xingchen, they are all just clones of Mu Tianyang. Ling Yunfei said. Clone? Li Jian and Lu Xingchen looked at each other, their eyes trembling as they asked, then where is his original body? I don't know. But according to my analysis, there is a high possibility that his original body is currently in the Mu family of the Forgotten Continent. Ling Yunfei guessed. To Mu Tianyang, the original body was definitely more important than Lu Xingchen and Renduxing, who were clones. And Mu Tianyang's original body was only a set of God's bones in the past. Although he didn't know what it was like now, it wasn't hard to tell that his original body had yet to recover to its peak state. Otherwise, he would have already made a move against the great Qin Empire. After all, as a true war god, an existence that could even compare to the Qin Emperor, with the current strength of the great Qin Empire, it was simply impossible to stop his footsteps. And the miracle was a dangerous place. Especially the second floor. If Mu Tianyang's original body also entered the miracle, then he would definitely enter the second floor. One had to know. Other than the danger of the miracle itself, Emperor Hong and the imperial advisor were also on the second floor. If they discovered that Mu Tianyang's original body, especially if they discovered that Mu Tianyang's original body's strength had plummeted and was not as strong as before, what would they do? They would definitely think of a way to completely erase it. Therefore, according to Ling Yunfei's calculations, Mu Tianyang's original body should not take this risk. And now, other than the Mu family of the Forgotten Continent, Mu Tianyang seemed to have nowhere to go. However, Ling Yunfei didn't dare to conclude. After all, Mu Tianyang was an overlord of a generation, unfathomable, and could not be judged with ordinary eyes and thoughts. Mu Tianyang is actually still alive. In that case, hasn't young master been dealing with Mu Tianyang all these years? Li Jian said. That's right. The people of the great Qin Empire all thought that he was an extremely vicious person. They also thought that he would destroy the great Qin Empire. But they didn't know that it was he who had been silently protecting the great Qin Empire, protecting the people of the great Qin Empire. Chapter 1473. It's been hard on him. Li Jian and the other two couldn't help but sigh. Silently protecting the great Qin. Enduring the curses of the world. Selflessly contributing. Who else in the world could compare to such a noble sentiment? A kind of respect and admiration for Qin Feiyang quietly grew in their hearts. Unknowingly, everyone left the water source and a barren mountain range came into sight. Little Scorpion, isn't this your territory? The Crocodile Emperor glanced at the mountain range and said in a daze. Yes. The Scorpion Emperor nodded. The Crocodile Emperor's eyes suddenly lit up and asked, Does Lu Xingchen know? That place is full of my underlings. If he appeared in my territory, I would definitely know. The Scorpion Emperor smiled confidently. In other words, Lu Xingchen didn't know that it was his territory. The Crocodile Emperor heard this and laughed sinisterly. Then what are you hesitating for? Get your underlings to come out and cut off his path. The Scorpion Emperor was stunned and hesitated. That's not good. Even we can't withstand that person's divine sense, let alone my underlings. You have so many underlings. What's wrong with a few dying? Besides, he might not dare to attack against hundreds of thousands of spirit demon scorpions. The Crocodile Emperor sneered. All right. The Scorpion Emperor nodded and roared, Underlings, come out and stop that human. His voice was like a bell that resounded through the sky. Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen chased each other and arrived at the mountain range. They were about to enter. Suddenly, they heard the Scorpion Emperor's roar and couldn't help but stop and turn to look at it suspiciously. The Scorpion Emperor smiled at Qin Feiyang. "What do you mean?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Rustle." But in the next moment, there was a burst of ear-piercing sounds coming from the mountain range ahead. Qin Feiyang quickly looked back and saw groups of spirit demon scorpions crawling out from the ground. The big ones were dozens of feet long, like mountains, exuding a terrifying aura. Small ones, palm-sized ones, fist-sized ones. It was densely packed. In an instant, the ground was covered in blood. They were all spirit devil scorpions. Vicious energy overflowed to the heavens. When Lu Xingchen saw this, he couldn't help but feel his scalp tingle. Once bitten, twice shy. This was an instinctive fear. Rumble. Accompanied by a series of deafening noises, a giant scorpion that was hundreds of meters long emerged from the ground and entered everyone's line of sight. Its entire body was blood red, and it emitted a monstrous baleful aura. His aura had already reached the peak of a 9-star combat emperor. When the other spirit scorpions saw it, they all retreated to the side and opened up a path for it. The giant scorpion walked out of the crowd, glanced at Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen, then looked up at the Scorpion Emperor and said respectfully, "Emperor, there are 2 humans here. Which one are you referring to?" "Him." Scorpion King pointed at Lu Xingchen. The giant scorpion's eyes flashed fiercely as he stared at Lu Xingchen and laughed, "With us here, don't even think about getting past." Lu Xingchen's eyes darkened. There was a group of scorpions blocking the way in front, and Qin Feiyang chasing after him with all his might. What should he do now? If he fought with the scorpions, he was confident that he could slaughter them all. But Qin Feiyang was not to be trifled with either. He would definitely think of a way to deal with him. Thinking of this, he turned to stare at Qin Feiyang and said in a deep voice, "Do you have to fight to the death?" But what responded to him was endless murderous intent. Not a single word. Qin Feiyang took a step forward. With the ancient castle above his head, he held the Chang Shui in his hand. The god of war on his body flickered with a dazzling purple-gold divine light. 3 divine artifacts with monstrous divine power. Furthermore, after a night of fighting, his shattered arm had long since recovered. At this moment, although he was riddled with wounds, his aura was even more astonishing than before. Especially his fighting spirit. He felt that even if he was facing God now, he would still dare to fight. Crazy, really crazy. Lu Xingchen flew into a rage and hurriedly urged his divine sense to counterattack. "I'm afraid you won't use your divine sense." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. The ancient castle whizzed over and collided with the divine sense in the sky. Puff! Qin Feiyang spat out a mouthful of blood and stepped back. After persisting for so long, his internal organs had long since been shattered. It could be said that he could still stand now, relying entirely on the purple-gold dragon blood and the fire of life, as well as his unyielding will. And at the same time, his divine sense was also annihilated. Lu Xingchen's face became paler and paler. The weakness in his expression became more and more obvious. After a night of fighting, your divine sense should not be much left. Qin Feiyang snickered. After stabilizing his body, he immediately took the Chang Shui and the ancient castle to kill. Actually, although Lu Xingchen's strength was stronger than Qin Feiyang's, his situation was more passive than Qin Feiyang's. The only thing he could contend with Qin Feiyang was his divine sense. But divine sense was extremely important to him. And it would take a very long time to condense a strand of divine sense again. So, every time he consumed a strand of divine sense, his heart was bleeding. What he was most afraid of was to consume all of his divine sense. Because once there was no divine sense, not to mention Qin Feiyang, even Ling Yunfei and the others could easily kill him. After all, his current cultivation was only a 5-star combat emperor. Another one. He did not dare to let Qin Feiyang get close to him, because he was afraid of Chang Shui. Chang Shui was enough to instantly kill him. Enough. Seeing that Qin Feiyang was unwilling to give up, Lu Xingchen was extremely annoyed and said angrily, "Isn't it just 3 pieces of Kuei water essence? Can I return them to you?" He compromised. If he could suppress Qin Feiyang, it didn't matter. But the key was that he couldn't suppress Qin Feiyang now. Divine armor, battle character arts, fire of life, and purple gold dragon blood made Qin Feiyang have an immortal body. At the same time, it also made Lu Xingchen feel weak. He took out the jade box and threw it to Qin Feiyang. To be honest, such a compromise was a stain and a disgrace to him. But now, he had to do this, and he had to endure it. Qin Feiyang was slightly stunned. He reached out and grabbed the jade box. After checking it and confirming that it was the Kuei water essence, he put it away. "I've returned it to you. Can you stop now?" Lu Xingchen said angrily. "Stop? Since we've already fallen out, there's no turning back. Today, one of us must die here." Qin Feiyang smiled coldly and used phantom steps to approach Lu Xingchen. His aura was like a rainbow. "Bastard! What good will it do you to do this?" Lu Xingchen roared. "It's not good for me, but at least it can protect the future of Great Qin." "That's enough," Qin Feiyang said. "This sentence should be heard by the people of Great Qin. Otherwise, they'll never know who's protecting them," Li Jian and Lu Xingchen exclaimed. In the past, they didn't have a good impression of Qin Feiyang. But now, they only had respect for Qin Feiyang in their hearts. Other young people, such as the children of the wealthy families in the imperial capital, the children of the marquis, which one of them wasn't seeking pleasure and enjoying life. But Qin Feiyang was carrying a heavy burden that ordinary people couldn't. For the sake of Great Qin's empire and hundreds of millions of people, he gave up everything, even his life. They were all young people, but why was the difference so big? The young lady of Longfeng House smiled and said, "What Feiyang needs is not for everyone to understand him and forgive him. He only wants to have a clear conscience." Selfless dedication, as expected of the person favored by the late emperor, Li Jian muttered. Such a young master was worthy of support. Boom! During the conversation, Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingchen clashed again. Qin Feiyang's injuries worsened. Lu Xingchen also lost another wisp of divine sense. "Don't force me," Lu Xingchen said. His eyes were extremely sinister. "Cut the crap. Take out all your means and fight with me," Qin Feiyang shouted. The battle intent and aura exuding from his body became more and more terrifying. This became a clear contrast. Qin Feiyang, who had let go of everything, was simply a primordial beast, becoming more and more courageous as he fought. On the other hand, Lu Xingchen. He had too many concerns and cared too much about his own life, so he began to be restrained. Once this happened, even if he had the means to reach the heavens, he was destined to be defeated. Sure enough. Next, the battle situation changed. He didn't know if Lu Xingchen was scared out of his wits by Qin Feiyang, or if it was because he didn't have much divine sense left. Other than when he was in a critical situation to save his life, he rarely used his divine sense. It was also because of this that Qin Feiyang gradually gained the upper hand. Boom! The battle continued for another half an hour. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang seized a gap and punched Lu Xingchen's shoulder. With a crack, Lu Xingchen's shoulder shattered on the spot, blood splashing in the sky. His whole body was like a meteorite, crashing into a giant mountain. The giant mountain, which was more than 1,000 feet high, was instantly annihilated. Then, it smashed into the ground. The ground cracked, and a deep pit of hundreds of feet suddenly appeared. "Boss is mighty." The Crocodile Emperor and the other three beasts immediately roared excitedly. Qin Feiyang ignored them and chased after them. He used the phantom steps and rushed into the deep pit like lightning, stepping on Lu Xingqian's chest. Lu Xingqian was about to get up, but with this step, his whole body sank into the soil, and blood spurted out of his mouth. Why did the frequency of using divine sense become so low? Are you looking down on me? Or is your divine sense about to be exhausted? Qin Feiyang looked down at him, his eyes extremely cold, with a hint of mockery. "Even if my divine sense is exhausted, you can only dream of killing me." Lu Xingqian sneered. "Is that so?" Qin Feiyang grabbed Lu Xingqian's neck, hanging in the void like a little chick, and said, "Now, can you hide in the spatial divine item?" He certainly knew about spatial divine items. There were two ways to stop a person from entering a spatial divine item. The first way was to imprison. For example, using coercion to completely imprison the other party with coercion, the other party would not be able to enter the spatial divine item. The second way was Qin Feiyang's method at the moment. Grab the other party's body. Because once he caught Lu Xingqian, if Lu Xingqian entered the spatial divine item, he would go in with him. So, as long as he caught the other party's body, the other party would not dare to enter the spatial divine item again. In fact, Qin Feiyang really wanted Lu Xingqian to enter the spatial divine item now. Because he had long been interested in Lu Xingqian's spatial divine item. Of course. What he was interested in was not the stone chamber. He had been to that stone chamber several times, but there was nothing there. What he was interested in was the world outside the stone chamber. According to what Lu Xingqian had revealed in the past, his spatial divine item was the valley in the desert of death. But whether it was true or not, no one knew. After all, it was only Lu Xingqian's side of the story. Chapter 1474. Lu Xingqian's face was as dark as water. "What's wrong? You're not going? Could it be that there's some shady business hidden in your spatial artifact?" Qin Feiyang sneered. Lu Xingqian was unmoved and said, "You know very well that even if I don't go to the spatial artifact, you can't kill me." As soon as he finished speaking, a wisp of divine sense swept out from the top of Lu Xingqian's head and floated above his head, emitting a great pressure. Qin Feiyang's pupils contracted. How much divine sense was hidden in this guy's sea of consciousness? Lu Xingqian said, "If you want to kill me, there will be plenty of opportunities in the future. Why do you want to fight to the death with me now?" Qin Feiyang was silent. Suddenly, his bloody eyes flashed with killing intent. Since they had already fought to this point, it would be a pity to give up halfway. It was better to fight to the end. As for who would die here in the end, it would be up to the heavens. Boom! But just as Qin Feiyang was about to make his move, an obscure mysterious power rolled over from the distant void. This mysterious power came from behind Qin Feiyang. Ling Yunfei and the others were the first to be enveloped by the invisible power. Immediately, a scene that shocked the entire audience appeared. Everyone's cultivation level instantly dropped by a small realm. For example, Ling Yunfei. His cultivation level was originally a 9-star war emperor, but under the shroud of that mysterious power, his cultivation level dropped directly to an 8-star war emperor. What's going on? Everyone was bewildered. In an instant, the mysterious power enveloped Qin Feiyang and Lu Xingqian. Qin Feiyang's cultivation level also dropped from the peak of the 9-star War Emperor realm to the 9-star War Emperor realm. How is this possible? Qin Feiyang's face was blank. At the same time, Lu Xingqian's eyes flashed coldly. The divine sense floating above his head turned into a stream of light and blasted towards Qin Feiyang's right shoulder. Clang! Crack! The armor was fine. However, Qin Feiyang's right shoulder was shattered on the spot. Purple gold dragon blood spurted out like a fountain. Qin Feiyang was sent flying, crashing heavily into the ground, blood gushing out of his mouth. I told you, you're going to kill me. Lu Xingqian chuckled, withdrew his divine sense, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. Feiyang. When Miss Longfeng and the others saw this, they quickly ran to Qin Feiyang's side and looked at him with concern. I'm fine. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. It was only his right shoulder that was shattered. It was not fatal. He got up from the ground. Meanwhile, that mysterious force quickly retreated, as if it had never appeared. Qin Feiyang turned around and looked in the direction where the mysterious energy had disappeared. That direction was the source of the water. Qin Feiyang shouted, Crocodile King, Scorpion King, Ant King, Spider King, go and take a look. I want to know who is behind this. Understood. The four beasts nodded and immediately turned around. They turned into streams of light and rushed towards the source of the water. Ling Yunfei looked at the water source with a gloomy expression and said, as far as I know, he's the only one who has the ability to make one's cultivation plummet among the people who entered the divine sight this time. You mean? Luo Qingzhu was surprised. Ling Yunfei nodded and said, that's right, it's Zhuge Mingyang's innate ability, destruction. It can't be him. Miss Longfeng shook her head and said, I saw it with my own eyes. He died in Feiyang's hands. It definitely can't be him. Ling Yunfei said, but, only he can do it. That might not be the case. There are thousands of people who entered the divine ruins this time. You don't know all of them. Maybe one of them is hiding this ability. Miss Longfeng said. Ling Yunfei frowned. But Miss Longfeng's words were not without reason. Qin Feiyang did not say a word. He retracted his gaze and looked at the place where Lu Xingqian disappeared. Crack! His hands gradually clenched. A hint of hostility crept up between his brows. Luo Qingzhu comforted him, this is the will of the heavens. There's nothing we can do. Don't be angry. Sigh. Qin Feiyang sighed deeply. He put away Chang Shui and the castle, and the purple gold armor on his body also disappeared. When they saw his scarred body, Ling Yunfei and the other two could not help but turn pale. At this moment, other than Qin Feiyang's face, there was not a single place that was intact. His flesh was mangled. Who knew how many bones in his body were broken? Hurry up and heal your injuries. Miss Longfeng took out healing pills, regeneration pills, and bone-replenishing pills and stuffed them into Qin Feiyang's mouth. Luo Qingzhu also took out these pills, but when she saw that Miss Longfeng was one step ahead of her, she silently put them away, looking a little disappointed. This scene was seen by Ling Yunfei. He sighed and patted Luo Qingzhu's shoulder with a comforting expression. Thank you. Qin Feiyang thanked the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House and closed the battle character formula. Without the support of the battle formula, he immediately felt dizzy and weak. He directly fell into the arms of Miss Longfeng. After fainting, the battle formula automatically closed. His cultivation returned to a 4-star War Emperor. Boss. Feiyang. Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu's expressions changed as they hurriedly went forward. Don't panic. He's just severely injured and fainted. He'll recover after resting for a while. Miss Longfeng checked Qin Feiyang's condition and looked at the two of them. The two of them heaved a sigh of relief. This battle formula is really shocking. At this moment, Lu Xingqian appeared out of thin air. Miss Longfeng immediately retreated with Qin Feiyang in her arms. Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu also quickly retreated to Miss Longfeng's side, as if they were facing a great enemy. But Lu Xingchen didn't even look at them. It was as if these three people couldn't enter his eyes. He looked at the unconscious Qin Feiyang and sighed, if not for the battle formula, you would have already fallen. To be honest, sometimes, I really envy you, because the heavens care for you. Ling Yunfei shouted, you have done so many evil deeds, and you still want the heavens to care for you? Is that possible? Lu Xingchen raised his head and looked at Ling Yunfei. His eyes were calm. It was as if he was looking at an ant. He then looked at Qin Feiyang and muttered, don't forget your promise to me. Of course, I also believe that you, Qin Feiyang, will not be a person who goes back on your word. Next. He raised his head to look at Miss Longfeng and the other two, and said, take good care of him. If he unfortunately dies, I will let you guys accompany him in death. With that, Lu Xingchen turned around, took a step forward, and quickly disappeared from their line of sight. At this time, only then did the three of them relax. Ling Yunfei said suspiciously, he actually told us to take good care of Qin Feiyang. What exactly is this bastard trying to do? He mentioned some promise more than once. I think he and Feiyang must have made some kind of deal in private. The Miss Longfeng pondered. Deal. Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu looked at each other, their faces full of doubt. Previous chapter. Next chapter. Boom. Roar. Suddenly, an ear-splitting sound rang out from the water source. Then, the roars of the crocodile emperor and the other two beasts rang out, filled with anger. Let's go take a look. The three of them changed their expressions and quickly turned around to carry Qin Feiyang, rushing towards the water source. The water source no longer existed. The ground was filled with devastation. The water in the creek and lake had also evaporated under the 10 scorching suns. In front of a broken mountain ridge, the crocodile emperor and the other two beasts revealed their true forms. They stared coldly in front of them, their entire bodies overflowing with killing intent. Whiz! When Ling Yunfei and the other two brought Qin Feiyang here, they immediately asked, what happened? The four beasts were about to answer, but when they saw the unconscious Qin Feiyang, they hurriedly asked, what happened to Boss Qin? Ling Yunfei said, it's just a serious injury and a coma, it's fine. So it's like that. The four beasts heaved a sigh of relief. What's wrong with you guys? Why did you reveal your true forms? Ling Yunfei asked. We saw a human. The Ant Emperor said. Who? The three of them were bewildered. A dead man. The Spider Emperor said in a deep voice. A dead man. The three of them looked at each other. Could it really be Zhuge Mingyang? Time passed. 2 days passed. In a wooden building. Qin Feiyang slowly opened his eyes and looked at the roof in confusion. Where was this? Why had he never seen it before? And it wasn't hot at all here. Could it be heaven? Following that, a burst of pain came from his head. Images flashed across his mind one after another. Finally, a figure froze in his mind. It was Lu Xingchen. Lu Xingchen, consider yourself lucky this time. He muttered and began to look around. It turned out that this was a room. Now, he was lying on a bed, covered with a thin layer of bedding. And beside the bed sat a beautiful figure. It was the miss of the Longfeng Pavilion. But at this moment, she was lying on the edge of the bed, her face turned sideways, her eyes closed, and she fell into a deep sleep. Qin Feiyang looked at that face and couldn't help but be lost in thought for a moment. This woman was really beautiful. Her exquisite facial features were like a masterpiece of heaven, without the slightest flaw. Her skin was soft and tender, and her figure was exquisite. It could be said to be perfect. This was a femme fatale. Just what kind of woman are you? Qin Feiyang muttered, and couldn't help but reach out his large hand, stroking that soft black hair. This action seemed to have alarmed the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion, and she suddenly murmured. Qin Feiyang quickly retracted his arm. Just as he retracted his arm, the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion slowly raised her head, opened her sleepy eyes, and looked at Qin Feiyang. Seeing that Qin Feiyang had woken up, the sleepiness in her eyes immediately disappeared and was replaced by joy. Qin Feiyang asked, "Why are you here? Aren't you talking nonsense?" "Of course I'm here to take care of you." Although her attitude was not good, the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion's face was full of concern. She asked, "How do you feel now?" "Not bad." Qin Feiyang nodded and teased, "Why didn't I realize before that you have such a considerate side?" "It's not too late to realize it now." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion rolled her eyes at him. Qin Feiyang smiled embarrassedly and asked, "How long have I been unconscious?" 2 days. As the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion spoke, she helped Qin Feiyang sit up. "It's already been 2 days?" Qin Feiyang was stunned. "Yes." The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix Pavilion nodded. "What about Lu Xingchen?" Qin Feiyang hurriedly asked. The Miss of Longfeng House coldly snorted and said, "It was Ling Yunfei who helped you change it." "That's good." Qin Feiyang smiled. "What do you mean?" Miss Longfeng raised her eyebrows. "I've kept my chastity for so many years. If I were to be taken advantage of by you, it would be such a loss." Qin Feiyang chuckled. "You even dare to tease me? Are you courting death?" The Miss of Longfeng House's face darkened as she grabbed Qin Feiyang's arm. "Pain, pain, pain, you're abusing the wounded, do you know that?" Qin Feiyang roared. "You know you're the most despicable." The Miss of Longfeng House laughed coldly. Looking at the smile on the Miss of Longfeng House's face, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel guilty. He smiled embarrassedly and said, all right. It's my fault. I apologize to you." The Miss of Longfeng House remained silent. She just looked at him and didn't let go. At first, it was fine. But gradually, Qin Feiyang couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. A moment later, the Miss of Longfeng House let go of Qin Feiyang and turned to walk outside. "Isn't it just a joke? Is there a need to be like this?" Qin Feiyang rubbed his bruised arm and said unhappily. "I don't care about others, but in front of me, you can't make any jokes." The Miss of Longfeng House stopped and said coldly. Then, she left without looking back. Qin Feiyang was stunned. He shook his head and muttered, "What a boring woman." Next, he walked to the window and looked outside. Outside was a courtyard. In the courtyard, there were some wild flowers planted. They were colorful and fragrant. Outside the courtyard was a pond. The water in the pond was so clear that one could see the bottom. The lotus leaves were like jade plates, verdant and glistening. The lotus flowers were slender and elegant like young girls, budding and waiting to bloom. In the water, there was also a school of small fish swimming happily. Among them, there was a small fish that was particularly eye-catching. It was only the size of a finger and looked extremely handsome. The school of fish treated it as their leader. That's right. It was the Kun Peng. As for Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, and Li Jian, they were sitting cross-legged by the pond, closing their eyes and meditating. The Miss of Longfeng House left the courtyard and walked to the pond. She smiled faintly and said, "He's awake." "He's awake?" The four of them opened their eyes and turned to look at the wooden building. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and turned into a ray of light. He flew out of the window and landed in front of everyone. "Young master. Boss. Fei Yang. The four of them immediately stood up, their faces filled with joy. I've made everyone worried these past few days. Qin Fei Yang smiled apologetically. Ling Yunfei sized up Qin Fei Yang and said, from the looks of it, you haven't fully recovered yet. Yes, not yet. Qin Fei Yang nodded. Although his external injuries had already healed, there were still internal injuries. Moreover, these internal injuries probably wouldn't be able to recover even after half a month. Ling Yunfei asked, then should we continue to recuperate or go find Fatso and the others? Qin Fei Yang said, let's wait for Scorpion King and the others to come back. Boss Qin, I'm back. Speak of the devil. Scorpion King's voice came from outside. Ling Yunfei waved his hand and led Qin Fei Yang and the others out of the spatial divine item. Scorpion King immediately entered their line of sight. However, Scorpion King's expression was extremely ugly. In fact, Qin Fei Yang and the others could even sense a sense of passivity that couldn't be dispelled from it. What's wrong? Qin Fei Yang was suspicious. Scorpion King jumped into Qin Fei Yang's arms and cried out, Boss, my underlings are all dead. What? Qin Fei Yang's gaze trembled. Ling Yunfei and the others were also shocked. Li Jian said, Scorpion King, this joke isn't funny at all. I'm not joking. They're really all dead. Scorpion King said with grief and indignation. The few of them exchanged glances and Qin Fei Yang asked, what happened? I don't know either. When I returned, I saw corpses all over the ground. I searched everywhere but I couldn't find a single living person in the entire mountain range. Damn it, who did it? Scorpion King roared. Qin Fei Yang's expression darkened. Let's go and take a look. The group left the water source immediately and headed for Scorpion King's territory. A moment later. When they entered Scorpion King's territory, the scene before them caused even Qin Fei Yang and the others to feel their scalps tingle. The ground was filled with corpses as far as the eye could see. Blood dyed the mountains red. Some of the corpses were even rotting under the scorching sun. Ling Yun ran to one of the corpses and examined it. Judging from the temperature here and the blood stains on the wounds, they should have died 2 days ago, he said in a deep voice. Luo Qingzhu looked at Qin Fei Yang and said, wasn't that when you fought with Lu Xingchen 2 days ago? Bastard! Qin Fei Yang clenched his fists. There was no doubt. These spirit demon scorpions must have been killed by Lu Xingchen. Scorpion King had ambushed Lu Xingchen at the water source. Given Lu Xingchen's personality, he would definitely not let the matter rest. The Miss of Longfeng House also thought of this. Her face was covered in frost as she looked at Scorpion King. We're sorry for implicating your people. What does it have to do with you? Scorpion King was puzzled. Qin Fei Yang said, according to our judgment, the one who killed your people should be Lu Xingchen. Damn it! Bastard, I swear that I will skin you alive. Scorpion King immediately roared, his anger soaring to the heavens. Qin Fei Yang looked at Scorpion King and blamed himself. It's my fault. I should have known that he would take revenge on you. Scorpion King shook his head. I don't need your apology. I just want you to help me kill him. Don't worry. Sooner or later, I will personally send him to hell. Qin Fei Yang said. With a wave of his hand, battle chi rolled out. Giant peaks collapsed one after another, drowning the corpses one by one. The Miss of Longfeng House sighed deeply and looked in the direction of the swamp. I wonder how the Crocodile Emperor, Ant Emperor, and Spider Emperor are doing? Qin Fei Yang also turned to look, his eyes filled with worry. Phew. A moment later. Qin Fei Yang exhaled and said, it's useless to stand here and worry. Let's go to the castle and cultivate while waiting. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and a group of people immediately appeared in the castle. Little brother, my condolences. The white-eyed wolf opened his eyes, looked at Scorpion King, and comforted him. Big brother, the crocodile emperor ran to the white-eyed wolf with tears streaming down its face. Looking at the crocodile emperor's sorrowful look, Qin Feiyang clenched his fists again. His desire to kill Lu Xingchen was unprecedentedly strong. He looked at Ling Yunfei and the rest and said, the rules of time here are different from the outside world. 10 days here is only 1 day outside. So, don't waste time. What? Everyone was stunned. 10 days in the castle was only 1 day outside? You must be kidding. Qin Feiyang did not explain. He consumed a healing pill and recuperated while imitating the 4th stroke of the attainment formula. Before entering the divine sight, he was already imitating the 4th stroke. Now, there was only a little left. He wanted to imitate it completely before the crocodile emperor and the other 2 beasts returned. This way, he could become a 5-star combat emperor. However, a 5-star combat emperor was far from enough. Because to kill Lu Xingchen, one must at least have the cultivation of a pseudo-god. The lady of the Dragon Phoenix house walked to Qin Feiyang's side and observed for a while. She frowned and said, "You just woke up. It's not right to consume so much battle qi." "I know what I'm doing." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. "Heard about it." The lady of the Dragon Phoenix house did not say anything else. She silently retreated to the side and sat cross-legged, closing her eyes to rest. Time passed in a flash. Another 3 days passed. Early in the morning, the crocodile emperor and the other 2 beasts finally returned. However, the 3 beasts were in low spirits, and their expressions were filled with sorrow that could not be dispersed. Chapter 1476. There was dead silence in the castle. The Ant Emperor, the Spider Emperor, and the Crocodile Emperor lowered their heads, looking sad and silent, making the atmosphere particularly heavy. Qin Feiyang stood in front of the altar and looked at the 3 beasts. Ling Yunfei and the others did not ask. Because they could see that the Ant Emperor and the other 2 beasts were in a bad mood, so they should calm down first. A moment passed. Qin Feiyang finally spoke. "The Scorpion Emperor's people were slaughtered, so he is very depressed now. What is the reason for you?" "What? Little Scorpion, your people were also slaughtered?" The 3 beasts trembled and looked up at the Scorpion Emperor in shock. The Scorpion Emperor nodded. "Damn it!" The 3 beasts were furious. Seeing this, Qin Feiyang and the others looked at each other, already having an answer in their hearts. The Crocodile Emperor looked at Qin Feiyang and said, "My people, as well as the Spider Emperor and the Ant Emperor's people were also killed." "We have already guessed it," Qin Feiyang said. "Guessed it?" The Crocodile Emperor was slightly stunned and said angrily, "Do you know who did it?" "Yes." Qin Feiyang nodded. "Who?" The 3 beasts stared at Qin Feiyang, murderous intent filling their eyes. The Scorpion Emperor said in a deep voice, "According to Boss Qin's judgment, it should be Lu Xingchen." Lu Xingchen. The 3 beasts gritted their teeth. Suddenly, the Ant Emperor said, "Wait, there is something strange." "What?" Everyone looked at him suspiciously. The Ant Emperor said, "The Crocodile Emperor's people died a little differently from mine and the Spider Emperor's people." "Different?" Everyone looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix house asked, "What's the difference?" The Crocodile Emperor's people were slaughtered. But the Spider Emperor's people and mine seem to have been sucked dry by something. The Ant Emperor said. "What? There is such a thing?" Everyone's expression changed. The Ant Emperor said, "Their corpses seem to have been hollowed out. Only skin and bones are left." The Spider Emperor nodded as well. That's way too weird. Ling Yunfei murmured. Sucking dry one's blood and qi, leaving behind only skin and bones. Just the thought of it made one's scalp tingle. The Ant Emperor said, furthermore, we even went to look for Zhuge Mingyang's corpse. Did you find it? Qin Feiyang asked. No. Only a pool of blood remains where he was originally buried. The Ant Emperor said. Why is this happening? Qin Feiyang clenched his fists. He had already killed Zhuge Mingyang. Furthermore, he was certain that Zhuge Mingyang had indeed died at that time. But why was he still alive? Qin Feiyang asked in a low voice, what exactly did you see in the water source 5 days ago? The Spider Emperor said, we saw Zhuge Mingyang. Are you sure? Qin Feiyang asked. Back then, he used the blood soul technique to control me. If it weren't for your help, I'm afraid I would have been used as cannon fodder by him and died somewhere. So, even if he turned into ashes, I would still recognize him. Of course I'm sure. The Spider Emperor said coldly. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House said, in that case, Zhuge Mingyang is not dead. It is a fact. How did he do it? How can a dead person come back to life? There must be something fishy about this. Ling Yunfei said. What is it? Could it be that someone has also taken over his body? Luo Qingzhu was surprised. Possession. Qin Feiyang's eyes trembled. Hearing the word possession, he immediately thought of Lu Xingchen. Also, the subjects of the Spider Emperor and the Ant Emperor were all sucked dry. Does this matter have something to do with Zhuge Mingyang? Luo Qingzhu said again. Every single one of these incidents seemed extremely strange and confusing, causing everyone to be completely clueless. Forget it. Don't think about it. When we see Zhuge Mingyang in the future, the truth will naturally be revealed. Ling Yunfei waved his hand and said. Everyone nodded. Qin Feiyang also closed his eyes and sensed the location of Fatso and the others through the slave seal. A moment later. He opened his eyes, revealing a look of surprise. What's wrong? The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House asked. Qin Feiyang said, Fatso, Lu Zheng, Lu Hong, and the Spirit Snake Emperor, the four of them actually walked together. This is a good thing. If they meet, they can take care of each other. The Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House smiled. Yes. Qin Feiyang nodded. Ling Yunfei asked, how far are they from us? Qin Feiyang said, very far, in the northwest direction, estimated to take 4 to 5 days. 4 to 5 days. Everyone looked at each other. Wasn't this miracle a little too big? With their current cultivation, 4 to 5 days was enough for them to cross the entire Great Qin Empire. Of course. Except for the Sea of Reincarnation. How about this? Qin Feiyang looked at the Crocodile Emperor and the other two beasts and said, for us, the most important thing now is to improve our strength. The Crocodile Emperor waved its claws and said, now that we are all family, if you have any orders, just say it. Don't beat around the bush. I'm being unreasonable. Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled, okay, I'll be straightforward. We want to cultivate in the castle, so I can only trouble the four of you to take us in turns. No problem. The four beasts nodded. Qin Feiyang looked at Li Jian and the other two and said, although the two of you have reached the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm, you still have to continue to work hard and don't slack off. Okay. The two of them replied. Ling Yunfei's eyes flashed as he looked at Li Jian and the other two and asked, do you know the ultimacy of becoming a true god? The two of them shook their heads. Ling Yunfei said, didn't you ask the Grand Tutor? Yes. But the Grand Tutor said that this kind of thing needs to be comprehended by oneself, and others can't help. The two of them said. That's true. But I can give you hints. This old thing, he didn't even give you hints, what is he thinking? Ling Yunfei looked at them with disdain. Hints? The two of them were slightly stunned and immediately stared at Ling Yunfei with a burning gaze. Qin Feiyang glanced at the two of them and said, "You know the ultimacy of becoming a true god too?" Ling Yunfei said to himself, "I've followed old Master Qin for so many years, of course I know." Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Ling Yunfei pondered for a while and said to himself, "Boss, I have a suggestion." "Go ahead." Qin Feiyang said. "I'll bring Li Jian and the other two and the four beasts to my space divine item and explain to them the ultimacy of becoming a true god, so that they can slowly comprehend it." Ling Yunfei said. "Okay. But there's one thing you have to remember, they can't become a true god on the first level, because once they become a true god here, they will immediately be sent to the second level." Qin Feiyang said. "I know." Ling Yunfei nodded. With a wave of his hand, he disappeared with Li Jian and the other two, the Crocodile Emperor and the other four beasts. Luo Qingzhu, the miss of the Dragon Phoenix House, and the White-Eyed Wolf also entered a state of cultivation. After a while, Ling Yunfei appeared again with the Ant King and nodded to Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang smiled. He left the ancient castle with the Ant Emperor and appeared outside. 10 suns hung in the sky. The entire earth seemed to have turned into a big furnace. In just a few breaths, Qin Feiyang was sweating profusely. He looked at the northwest direction for a long time and smiled at the Ant King. "Do you remember the ultimacy of becoming a true god?" "Yes." The Ant King nodded and said, "I feel that Ling Yunfei has already explained it very clearly, but I just can't figure it out. The ultimacy of becoming a true god is difficult to understand. This matter can't be rushed, you have to take it slowly. Maybe one day, you will have an epiphany." Qin Feiyang said. "Really?" The Ant King looked at him suspiciously. "Of course." Qin Feiyang nodded and said with a smile, "Then I'll have to trouble you today. Tomorrow, I'll ask the Spider Emperor to replace you. At that time, you can go to Ling Yunfei's spatial divine item and focus on comprehending the ultimacy of becoming a true god." "Okay." The Ant King grinned. Qin Feiyang said, "Show your true form." "Okay." Immediately, the Ant King's body emitted strands of bloody light. Its palm-sized body expanded in the wind. In an instant, a huge monster appeared in front of Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang jumped up and landed on the back of the Scorpion King. He said, "Don't act on your own if you encounter any trouble. Inform me immediately." "Okay." The Ant King nodded. Qin Feiyang smiled. Now, the Ant King was truly following him. With a single thought, he disappeared. The exposed castle immediately sank and landed on the back of the Scorpion King. Inside the castle, Qin Feiyang waved his hand, and the scene outside appeared. After confirming that the castle was on the back of the Ant King, he sent a voice transmission to the Ant King outside, "You can set off now." "Got it." The Ant Queen gave a silent response before spreading its claws and flying toward the northwest without even looking back. The scene in the castle was also moving. This meant that the castle had always been on the back of the Ant King. After watching for a while, Qin Feiyang turned around and walked to the front of the altar, continuing to copy the Xing character formula. But he did not disperse the scene in the void, because he could keep an eye on the situation outside through the scene. Similarly, if the castle fell from the back of the Ant King, he would be able to discover it immediately. Time passed by day. On the evening of the third day, the fourth stroke of the Xing character formula was finally completed. Boom! Qin Feiyang's cultivation base also broke through to the 5-star War Emperor in an instant. Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, and the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house looked at Qin Feiyang's back with a trace of envy in their eyes. While practicing the divine art, he could also improve his cultivation base. Why did all the good things in the world fall on this guy? The Xing character formula had a total of 6 strokes. Qin Feiyang had already copied the 4th stroke, and there were still 2 strokes left. Soon, he would be able to master another divine art. Moreover, the 6-word divine art was more powerful than the other divine arts that Qin Feiyang had mastered. According to Qin Feiyang's judgment, even the divine dragon art could not be compared to the 6-word divine art. The Xing character formula is comparable to teleportation. I'm really looking forward to it. Qin Feiyang murmured, turned his head to look at the situation outside through the screen, and continued to copy the 5th stroke. These 3 days, the journey was very peaceful. On the first day, the Ant King led everyone on the journey. On the second day, the Spider Emperor. On the third day, which was today, the Crocodile Emperor led everyone on the journey. Of course. On the way, they would occasionally encounter some ferocious beasts. Chapter 1477. Time flew by. The next morning. Summon the Scorpion King. Qin Feiyang said to Ling Yunfei without turning his head. Although the Crocodile Emperor and the other 3 beasts were used to the climate, they were still following him and he could not be biased. It would be unfair if only one of them were to lead them on their journey. Ling Yunfei nodded. With a wave of his hand, the Scorpion King appeared out of thin air. Qin Feiyang retracted his arm and turned to look at the Scorpion King. How was it? How's your understanding of the profound meaning of becoming a god? It's too difficult. Until now, I still haven't figured out what it means. The Scorpion King sighed. There's no rush. Take your time. It's your turn to lead us today. Thank you for your hard work. Qin Feiyang smiled. The Scorpion King said unhappily, aren't you treating me like an outsider? Qin Feiyang shook his head and smiled. Then, he appeared on the Crocodile Emperor's back with the Scorpion King. The Crocodile Emperor immediately laughed. I like boss's way of doing things. 1 day per person, fair and just. But this damn weather is really hot. That's enough. You've lived here for so many years and you're still afraid of the heat? The Scorpion King despised. Don't say that. I'm really afraid of the heat. After all, I'm not like you. You and the Ant Queen have always been like this. It's normal that you're not afraid of the heat. But I've been living in the water source all these years. It's rare for me to be like this. The Crocodile Emperor said. Don't mention the water source. When I hear these words, I can't help but think of the wicked things you've done in the past. The Scorpion King snorted. Wicked? Do you know how to talk? This is called the capable. I'm more capable than you. The water source is such a good place. Of course, it's mine to enjoy. The Crocodile Emperor said in disdain. Can't both of you stop talking? Qin Feiyang was helpless. If he did not stop them, these two would definitely fight again. The Crocodile Emperor glanced at the Scorpion King and said, all right, I'll let it go for your sake. Fuck. It's me who doesn't want to argue with you, do you understand? Do you think it's still the same as before? Now that you don't have any armor, killing you is as easy as flipping my hand. Scorpion Emperor said angrily. Say that again. The Crocodile Emperor was enraged. Wait. But suddenly, the Scorpion Emperor seemed to have discovered something and looked around in surprise. At this moment, they stood in the middle of a mountain range. The surrounding mountain ranges were stacked on top of each other, and just like the other places, it was completely bare. But there was a difference. There were stone holes of various sizes on each of the giant peaks. There was a fist-sized hole. There were also stone holes the size of a dustpan. In short, apart from the ground, this place was riddled with holes. What happened? The Crocodile Emperor was puzzled. Qin Feiyang also looked at Scorpion King suspiciously. The Scorpion King said in a low voice, "Little crocodile, do you still remember that a group of terrifying creatures came to invade your water source a few years ago?" A few years ago, Crocodile Emperor lowered its head and recalled. Suddenly, it seemed to have thought of something as its gaze trembled slightly. "Little Scorpion, are you talking about the blood-devouring bees?" "That's right." Scorpion King nodded. Qin Feiyang's heart skipped a beat. He also knew about the blood-devouring bees. It was an extremely ferocious social creature. Their horror was comparable to the blood-devouring scorpion. As long as it was a place they went, it would become a land of death. It was no exaggeration to say that. When the blood-devouring bees were dispatched, it was equivalent to locusts passing through, leaving nothing behind. Even if it was a beast with a higher cultivation than them, they could nibble it away bit by bit. Not even the bones would be left behind. The Crocodile Emperor was surprised. "Why did you suddenly mention them?" The Scorpion King looked around, swallowed its saliva, and said angrily, "Are you stupid? Don't you know how to look carefully? This is their nest." "What?" The Crocodile Emperor's gaze trembled. It quickly looked around and muttered, "Damn, it's really their nest. I was so careless that I didn't notice it." In the past, it had armor and was not afraid of any creature, because no one could break its defense. But now, it had given the armor to Qin Feiyang. Without its greatest reliance, it had to be on guard. Qin Feiyang was also on high alert, as if he was facing a formidable enemy. The Scorpion King pointed to the surrounding peaks and said to Qin Feiyang, "See those holes? That's where they are entrenched. Boss Qin, let's take a detour. You don't know how crazy these guys are. Anyone who provokes them will not have a good ending." The Crocodile Emperor was terrified. "When did you become so timid?" "I can't tell. Is there something strange here?" The Scorpion King said angrily. "What's strange?" The Crocodile Emperor was suspicious. "Look carefully. In fact, we are now deep in the blood-devouring bee's nest. Why hasn't a single one appeared?" The Scorpion King said. "Yeah. Where did they go?" The Crocodile Emperor came back to its senses and asked in surprise. The Scorpion King's eyes flashed coldly. His battle aura rolled out and blasted towards a giant peak. There was a loud bang. The giant peak shattered, revealing a huge beehive. The beehive was about a few hundred feet in diameter, emitting a delicate fragrance. The fragrance came from the beehive's beehive. It was also the so-called honey. Like stalactites, crystal clear. However, there was not a single blood-devouring bee in the beehive. Beehive. Qin Feiyang looked at the beehive's beehive with a gleam in his eyes. As everyone knew, beehive's beehive was usually formed by collecting all kinds of pollen over a long period of time. But blood-devouring bees were different. The beehive's beehive was refined from the flesh and blood of various beasts. And it was the essence of the flesh and blood. This kind of beehive was a great tonic for both beasts and humans. Not only did it have the effect of healing injuries, but it could also restore battle aura and prolong life. According to ancient records, the energy contained in a drop of beehive's beehive was equivalent to 1,000 battle aura pills and 1,000 healing pills. "Boss Qin, what are you thinking about? You're drooling." The Scorpion King snickered. Qin Feiyang came back to his senses, his face full of awkwardness. Scorpion King looked at the beehive and chuckled. "Don't be embarrassed. In fact, I've been drooling over this beehive for a long time. It's just that I couldn't find the opportunity because of the blood-devouring bee's protection." Then what are you waiting for? Let's go and have a taste. Crocodile Emperor led Qin Feiyang and Scorpion King to the front of the beehive. It opened its mouth wide and swallowed 1/3 of the beehive in an instant. Awesome! As the beehive entered his mouth, he could feel a fragrance sweeping through his body. The fatigue from the day's journey was swept away in an instant. Crocodile Emperor showed a look of enjoyment. However, Scorpion King was exasperated and scolded. Are you the reincarnation of a hungry ghost? But Crocodile Emperor was immersed in the delicacy and was not in the mood to care. It swallowed another mouthful and more than half of the beehive disappeared. The huge beehive was only left with a little bit. Bastard, you're wasting God's gift. Scorpion King was hopping mad. Why are you yelling? It's not like this is the only beehive. Crocodile Emperor rolled its eyes. As it spoke, it swallowed the rest of the beehive in one gulp. Comfortable. I've never tasted such delicious food before. I've wasted my life. It burped and shook its head. It lay on the ground happily and slowly consumed the beehive. Bastard! Scorpion King scolded and waved its claws. A wave of battle chi swept out and blasted towards a giant peak on the left. The giant peak collapsed. Another beehive was exposed. However, this beehive was smaller than the one Crocodile Emperor had eaten. However, the beehive was no different. It shone with a milky white halo and smelled fragrant. There was not a speck of dust on it. This is mine. Don't snatch it from me. Scorpion King said and transformed into its original form. It hurriedly ran towards the beehive. Qin Feiyang shook his head and laughed. What a bunch of foodies. Swoosh. With a wave of his hand, Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, Miss Longfeng, and the white-eyed wolf appeared. Looking at the beehive in front of Scorpion King, Ling Yunfei, Luo Qingzhu, and the white-eyed wolf's eyes lit up. Qin Feiyang turned to Ling Yunfei and said, call Li Jian and the Ant Emperor out to help. All right. Ling Yunfei nodded. With a wave of his hand, Li Jian, Zhou Zheng, the Ant Emperor, and the Spider Emperor appeared. Damn! There really isn't even a single blood-devouring bee. Since that's the case, then I won't be polite. Boss Qin, quickly prepare something to store the beehive. The rest of you, follow me to sweep. The Ant Emperor howled and pounced towards a giant peak like a hungry wolf. Ling Yunfei, Li Jian, and the Spider Emperor also immediately moved and rushed towards a giant peak. Miss Longfeng laughed, I really didn't expect to encounter such a treasure. With this beehive, even if we don't have battle chi pills in the future, it's enough for us to consume for a while. Luo Qingzhu also laughed. No. I'm guessing that there's probably a beehive in all the mountains in this area. If that's the case, then this beehive is enough for us to consume for decades. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. Miss Longfeng glanced at the surrounding giant peaks and smiled, I'll go and try it too. I'll go too. Luo Qingzhu said. Qin Feiyang also rushed to a giant peak and shattered it with a punch. A 50 to 60 zhang tall beehive appeared. He stretched out his finger, dipped it in the beehive, and put it in his mouth. His first impression was that it was sweet and delicious. Following that, a huge amount of energy surged into his body. In just a few breaths, he was pleasantly surprised to find that the battle chi he had consumed to copy the line formula had actually recovered. The rumors are true. A drop of beehive is comparable to 1,000 battle chi pills and healing pills. Qin Feiyang was wild with joy and hurriedly took out his cosmos bag. But in the end, he froze there. Originally, he wanted to find something to store the beehive. But there was no such large capacity in the cosmos bag. Qin Feiyang turned to look at Scorpion Emperor, Ling Yunfei, and the others. Everyone had already found more than a dozen beehives. They were of different sizes. But the smallest beehive was more than 100 zhang in diameter. How much beehive was there? It was estimated that it could gather into a small lake. Even if the castle was used as a container, it wouldn't be able to hold it. How should he deal with it? For a moment, Qin Feiyang didn't know what to do. Suddenly, a thought flashed through his mind, and he already had an idea. Chapter 1478. No one knew when the blood-devouring bees would return, so they had to speed up. In addition to Li Jian, Zhou Zheng, and the Crocodile Emperor, Luo Qingzhu and the Miss of the Dragon Phoenix House were also busy. Ling Yunfei rushed in front of Qin Feiyang and asked, "What's the matter?" Qin Feiyang said, "I didn't bring the ancient pagoda in, so I'll leave these beehives in your spatial divine object first." He. Aren't you afraid that I'll take it all for myself? Ling Yunfei laughed evilly. Try it. Qin Feiyang smiled playfully. Ugh. Ling Yunfei was stunned, then shook his head and laughed, entering the spatial divine object to set it up. Qin Feiyang also followed him to the top of a mountain, paying attention to the surrounding situation. Not long after, Ling Yunfei appeared, and then brought the beehives into the spatial divine object, and kept going back and forth. Time was like sand between one's fingers, passing in a flash. No one knew how much time had passed. In short, all the beehives within a radius of 500 miles had been swept away. Everyone's faces were filled with happy smiles. Although there were countless treasures in the miracle, the battle chi pill was the most troublesome problem for everyone. Because until now, they had not found a single medicinal ingredient for the battle chi pill. The key was, everyone could not do without the battle chi pill. Whether it was cultivation or fighting, they needed it. The beehive was undoubtedly a timely rain that helped them solve this problem. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang's gaze focused as he looked towards the northwest. Faintly, he seemed to have sensed a battle fluctuation coming from afar. But it was very weak. For a moment, he wondered if it was an illusion. After pondering for a while, his eyes flashed as he jumped down from the top of the mountain and landed on the ground below. He said to Ling Yunfei and the others, "You guys be careful, I'll go to the front and take a look." After saying that, without waiting for anyone to respond, he used the phantom steps and left without looking back. What is he going to do? Ling Yunfei was suspicious. Who cares? Collecting the beehive is more important. The Ant Emperor said. The boundless land was filled with desolation. Although the divine ruins were restricted by the power of rules and couldn't fly, their running speed could still be maximized. At this moment, Qin Feiyang was like a bolt of lightning, traveling through the great earth as fast as lightning. Suddenly, he stopped and closed his eyes. A moment later, he opened his eyes again, and two beams of light shot out. It wasn't an illusion. There really were battle waves coming from the front. Although it was still very weak, as he got closer, he could clearly sense it. This is the territory of the blood-devouring bees, Qin Feiyang murmured. Suddenly, his gaze trembled. Was someone fighting with the blood-devouring bees? Who was so bold? Whoosh! He used phantom steps again and continued to rush forward. The distance was getting closer and closer. The fluctuations from the battle were getting more and more intense. Several hundred breaths passed. Gusts of strong wind blew. The giant peaks of different heights in front of him were also swaying like leaves in the wind. The earth was also trembling. The rumbling sounds became clearer and clearer. As he continued to go deeper for a period of time, Qin Feiyang felt like he was in the middle of a storm. Waves of battle waves surged toward him. Boom! Crack! At the end of the land in front of him, the mountains continued to collapse, and the rumbling sounds were deafening. The ground was also crazily cracking. Looking from afar, the dust billowed, covering the sky and the sun, as if it was the end of the world. This fluctuation is at least a confrontation between 9-star combat emperors. Qin Feiyang murmured. Another period of time passed. He suddenly braked and immediately hid behind a huge rock next to him. Then, he carefully poked his head out and looked ahead. In front. Dust billowed, covering everything. Just in the dust, Qin Feiyang vaguely saw that the ground was covered by a layer of blood-red light. Of course. This alone was not enough to make him stop. The real reason that made him stop was that he sensed countless terrifying auras in the dust. These auras contained an astonishing ferocious and ruthless aura, like a group of demons lurking there, giving Qin Feiyang a great sense of danger. Could they be blood-devouring bees? Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed. Suddenly, he activated the concealment technique, and his entire person instantly disappeared into the void. Immediately, he walked out in a dignified manner. A moment later, he entered the dust zone and finally saw the true face of the blood-red light. It was blood-devouring bees. Their appearance was very similar to hornets. But the difference was that they were blood-red. Their long and narrow eyes were also blood-stained, suffused with a terrifying murderous light. Kill! Each of them was the size of a fist, and like a tide, they surged forward one after another. While seeing these blood-devouring bees, Qin Feiyang also sensed a few human auras. But because they were mixed with the blood-devouring bees' auras, it was not easy to distinguish. After carefully sensing for a while, his face suddenly surged with ecstasy. Immediately after, he hurriedly rushed forward. Because he was able to identify the auras of those humans. They were the auras of Fatso, Phantom Snake Emperor, Lu Hong, and Lu Zheng. He really did not expect to meet them here. But calculating the time, it was about time. It had been 3 days since they set off from the Scorpion King's territory. Although it was estimated that it would take at least 4 or 5 days to meet up with Fatso and the others, there was no delay along the way, so it saved a lot of time. Dozens of breaths later, he went deep into the swarm. Finally, on the ground in front, he saw Fatso and the other 2 and Phantom Snake Emperor. They were surrounded by the swarm of bees, and all of them were scarred. Especially Lu Zheng. His cultivation and strength were stronger than Lu Hong, Fatso, and Phantom Snake Emperor. But he had been protecting Lu Hong behind him, fighting a bloody battle. Even in the face of despair, he did not take a step back. Qin Feiyang was about to rescue them. But suddenly, further ahead, he sensed another familiar aura. How could it be him? Qin Feiyang was surprised. The owner of this aura was Gongsun Bei. And there were more than a dozen unfamiliar human auras around Gongsun Bei. These auras were very strong, and all of them had reached the 9-star combat emperor level. There were even 4 auras that had reached the peak of the 9-star combat emperor level. Could it be the people from the main tower? Qin Feiyang muttered. Beast! An angry shout rang out. Qin Feiyang hurriedly looked over and immediately saw a palm-sized blood-devouring bee piercing through Lu Zheng's left shoulder like an arrow. A bloody hole suddenly appeared, and blood gushed out. Lu Hong's beautiful face also turned pale. Because she was behind Lu Zheng. After the blood-devouring bee pierced through Lu Zheng's left shoulder, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws toward Lu Hong. Its blood-red eyes flashed with a bloodthirsty light. Beast, you're courting death. Lu Zheng roared and grabbed the blood-devouring bee with a backhand. His battle chi surged as he crushed the bee into pieces. Blood splattered across the sky. Seeing that Lu Hong was fine, he heaved a sigh of relief. But then, he knelt on the ground powerlessly, his face pale. are you okay? Lu Hong hurriedly stepped forward, took out a healing pill, and stuffed it into Lu Zheng's mouth. She was concerned. Lu Zheng clutched his left shoulder, slowly got up, and smiled. As long as you can live, even if I die, it's worth it. Silly. Lu Hong scolded angrily, but there was a trace of emotion in her eyes. I'm talking about the two of you. Fat Lord doesn't object to dating, but can't you pick a better time? Fatso, who was next to him, roared. Yes. Phantom Serpent Emperor nodded, also very dissatisfied. There were too many blood-devouring bees, and it was impossible to kill them all. If this continued, everyone would die here. You talk too much. Lu Zheng glared at them, turned around, grabbed Lu Hong's hand, and said in a deep voice, Don't worry, no matter how many blood-devouring bees there are, I will definitely take you out today. Looking at the face in front of her, which was full of concern, Lu Hong could not help but be absent-minded. Seeing this, Lu Zheng laughed and said, Are you starting to like me? Oh my God. You're still thinking about picking up girls. Fatso and Phantom Serpent Emperor looked at the sky speechlessly. You talk too much. Lu Zheng was extremely angry. He suddenly turned around, and his battle chi rolled out. He shouted, Phantom Moon. In an instant, 50 black moons appeared out of nowhere, exuding a world-destroying aura. Bastards, destroy all of you. Kill. Lu Zheng roared, and the 50 black moons were like meteorites, blasting in all directions. Boom. Crack. Accompanied by a loud sound, a large number of blood-devouring bees within 100 miles were killed in an instant. The ground collapsed, and ditches appeared everywhere. Let's go. However, Lu Zheng did not continue to fight. With a wave of his hand, he led Lu Hong and killed their way out. At this moment, he was like a god of death, unstoppable. Fatso and Phantom Serpent Emperor followed closely on his left and right. But there were too many blood-devouring bees. Moreover, many of these blood-devouring bees had the cultivation of a war emperor. Even if Lu Zheng had mastered the divine art, it would be difficult for him to do it alone. Lu Hong said angrily, Damn Fatso, hurry up and show me your true ability. Fatso snorted coldly, Don't some people want to be a hero and save the beauty? Of course, Fat Lord will fulfill his wish. Bastard. Are you looking for a beating? Lu Zheng shouted. As long as one was not a fool, one could tell that Fatso was obviously talking about him. TSK. Fatso raised his middle finger, his eyes full of disdain. Dragon Transformation Art, activate. Immediately. He let out a low shout. His aura changed drastically. His body was also changing. Black dragon scales emerged from his skin and covered his entire body. His body was also rapidly growing in size. With a poochie sound, his clothes were torn apart, leaving only a pair of underpants. In the end, what appeared before everyone's eyes was a person with a dragon's body, dragon claws, and dragon scales. He had transformed into a black dragon warrior. Moreover, Fatso's cultivation was also soaring crazily, and in the end, it had increased by a total of 4 small realms. Damn, you still have such a heaven-defying battle art? Lu Zheng was dumbfounded. It's a surprise. Fatso smiled proudly. Lu Zheng was immediately furious, and roared, If you have such a powerful method, why didn't you use it earlier? Didn't I say that I wanted to give you a chance to perform? Otherwise, how would you win Xiao Hong's heart? Fatso laughed sinisterly. Hearing this, Lu Zheng glanced at Lu Hong with a smile in his eyes. Chapter 1479. Fatty smiled embarrassedly and immediately attacked, easily destroying a swarm of blood-devouring bees that pounced at him. Lu Zheng smiled and said, with Fatso joining us, you don't have to worry anymore. Humph. I finally understand that all of you are treating me like a vase. I don't need your protection. White Dragon Battle Suit. Lu Hong snorted coldly, and wisps of battle chi appeared. Her body emitted a dazzling radiance. A white battle suit materialized on her body. The battle suit was in the style of a long skirt. It was as light as a feather and as soft as silk. The moment the battle suit appeared, Lu Hong's cultivation also surged by 4 small realms. Her sleeves fluttered, and her hair danced. Her entire body was enveloped by the radiance, and she exuded a sacred aura. At this moment, she was like a fairy who had returned from the heavens, displaying her beautiful figure. Damn! Lu Zheng was once again dumbfounded. Fatso smiled sinisterly. Her white dragon technique is similar to my dragon transformation technique, so don't underestimate her. Shut up. Lu Hong glared at him and shouted. Then, she swept past Lu Zheng and charged into the swarm of bees. How is it? Don't you feel very unconfident now? Fatso moved to Lu Zheng's side and laughed softly. Get lost. Lu Zheng's face darkened. He looked at Lu Hong's back, and a look of amazement flashed across his eyes. He muttered, "This is the woman that I, Lu Zheng, want. Hong, wait for me." He hurriedly chased after her. It's over. This kid has gone berserk. Fatso shook his head. The Spirit Serpent Emperor glanced at Lu Zheng and Lu Hong, then turned to look at Fatso and said angrily, I say, do you guys understand the situation? Do you still have the mood to joke at a time like this? This is called mentality, do you understand? Don't be so serious. Even if we die in the end, we have to die happily. Fatso chuckled and quickly chased after him. Die happily? The Spirit Serpent Emperor was stunned for a moment before it cursed angrily, what a bunch of lunatics. Qin Feiyang followed behind the 3 people and 1 beast. Originally, he wanted to help. But when he saw Lu Hong and Lu Zheng's situation, he had an idea. Why not help the 2 of them? Initially, he had noticed that the way Lu Hong looked at Lu Zheng was slightly different from before. He was touched. There was warmth. There was also a trace of complicated feelings. This meant that regardless of their current relationship, at least Lu Zheng had already opened Lu Hong's heart. This was an opportunity. He had long known about Lu Hong's feelings for him. However, feelings could not be forced, so he could only apologize. Therefore, he sincerely hoped that Lu Hong and Lu Zheng could be together. After all, Lu Zheng had both the family background and the talent he needed. Most importantly, after spending some time together, he realized that Lu Zheng was actually a very responsible man even though he appeared to be a wanton and unrestrained person. Moreover, Lu Zheng was also his cousin. He was relieved that Lu Hong and Lu Zheng were together. Although Lu Hong did not have any feelings for Lu Zheng now, feelings were something that could be cultivated slowly. Especially in this kind of life-and-death environment and atmosphere, it was easy to develop feelings for each other. After all, women all yearned for a man to stand in front of them and protect them. Boom! Crack! The 3 people and 1 beast unleashed their iron-blooded methods and killed crazily, leaving behind a sea of corpses. Let's work harder. If nothing goes wrong, we can definitely kill our way out. Fatso roared excitedly as if he had been injected with chicken blood. You want to escape? Are you dreaming? But before he finished speaking, a bone-chilling voice suddenly sounded not far away. Fatso raised his eyebrows and looked up. He saw a fan-sized blood-devouring bee laughing at him, its eyes full of mockery. You dare to laugh at me? You really don't know what's good for you. Fatso was furious. He jumped up and pounced on the blood-devouring bee like an arrow. Hee, the blood-devouring bee laughed sinisterly and retreated like lightning. At the same time, it raised its head and let out an ear-piercing shriek. Not good. Lu Hong's expression changed and she shouted, "It's informing the 9-star combat Emperor's blood-devouring bee. Don't tangle with it, leave quickly." Fatso's heart also sank. He quickly returned to Lu Hong and Lu Zheng's side and tried his best to kill the swarm of bees in front of him. "I hope Gong Sun Bei and the others can stall the 9-star combat Emperor's blood-devouring bees." The Spirit Snake Emperor was worried. Although Fatso and Lu Hong had shown their true strength, they were still a little weak against the 9-star combat Emperor's blood-devouring bees. As for Lu Zheng, even if he mastered the Fire Phoenix art, it would be difficult for him to fight against the swarm of blood-devouring bees. "Damn humans, you killed so many of our people. Go to hell." Suddenly, accompanied by angry roars, more than a dozen blood-devouring bees charged over like lightning. Wherever they passed, the earth trembled and mountains shattered. Moreover, they were different from the netherworld bees here. They were as big as a dustpan and their terrifying aura swept in all directions. "They are all 9-star combat emperors." Qin Feiyang glanced at the blood-devouring bees and muttered to himself. He then turned back to look at Fatso and the others. At this moment, Fatso and the other two and the Spirit Snake Emperor were running for their lives. But there were too many blood-devouring bees in front of them. Moreover, seeing the 9-star combat Emperor's blood-devouring bees charging over, they became even crazier and continued to charge forward. This made it impossible for Fatso and the others to unleash their maximum speed. Seeing that the 9-star combat Emperor's blood-devouring bees were about to reach them, Lu Zheng gritted his teeth and suddenly turned around. With a destructive aura, he charged forward. Fatso roared, "Lu Zheng, what are you doing?" Lu Zheng roared without turning back, "I will stay behind to stop them." "You guys go quickly." "No. If you want to go, let's go together," Lu Hong said. "Don't be silly. From the moment we were surrounded by them, I already knew that we would not be able to escape today. You guys go quickly. It is better for me to sacrifice myself than to be completely annihilated," Lu Zheng said without turning back. A wave of fire soared into the sky. A divine seal as big as a mountain and a phoenix surrounded by divine light instantly appeared above his head, exuding a monstrous divine aura. These were the first and second forms of the Fire Phoenix technique, Fire Phoenix Seal, Phoenix Cry. "I did not expect that I, Lu Zheng, would actually fall into the hands of you beasts here. Fortunately, my little cousin is not here. Otherwise, he would definitely laugh at me. Come on, let me see how capable you are." Lu Zheng raised his head and laughed wildly. The Fire Phoenix Seal expanded in the wind, shaking the sky and whistling forward. Chirp. At the same time, the phoenix circling in the sky also let out a high-pitched phoenix cry. A formless sound wave immediately surged towards the dozen blood-devouring bees like a tidal wave. Ants. However, facing the two great divine techniques, the blood-devouring bees were completely fearless. Blood-colored battle chi surged out of their bodies, turning into a torrent that flooded the sky and surged out in all directions. Boom! High up in the sky, the Fire Phoenix Seal met the blood-colored battle chi first. With a deafening sound, the Fire Phoenix Seal shattered on the spot. Following closely, the blood-colored battle chi rushed toward the sound wave with irresistible force. The sound wave could not stop it at all. Puff! Lu Zheng spat out blood from his mouth. This was the difference in cultivation level. And it was an overwhelming difference. Even if Lu Zheng had a divine technique, he could not reverse the situation. Boom! Under the impact of the blood-colored battle chi, the Fire Phoenix let out a wail and collapsed. After the Fire Phoenix collapsed, the blood-colored battle chi rushed toward Lu Zheng again. That shocking murderous aura and that unresolvable ferocity made him feel as if he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. His body and mind were cold. He hurriedly turned his head to look behind and saw that Lu Hong, Fatso, and the Phantom Snake Emperor were still there. He could not help but shout anxiously, "What are you waiting for? Hurry up and leave." The two people and one beast were not idle either. They fought with the other blood-devouring bees. It was hard to tell who would win. Impossibly stupid. Lu Zheng cursed angrily. He turned to stare at the blood-devouring bees and shouted, "The third style of the Fire Phoenix technique, Emperor of all spirits." As soon as he said this, the sky changed color. Blood-red clouds rolled in from the horizon. The sky above turned into a sea of fire in an instant. The void and the ground were illuminated in red light. Boom! In the next moment, a divine statue appeared above Lu Zheng. It was a middle-aged man. He was 7 feet tall and straight like an iron pine tree. He stood on the fire phoenix and held a long spear in his hand. His sharp eyes looked down at the world like an emperor who ruled over all directions. He was domineering and domineering. Ancestor of the Lu family, Qin Feiyang looked at the divine statue with respect in his eyes. He had seen this divine statue in the Lu family's land of inheritance. It was also this divine statue that had given him the inheritance. "Ancestor, it's up to you whether or not we can escape alive today." The Lu family looked at the divine statue and muttered to himself. His eyes were filled with murderous intent as he waved his hand. Clang! The divine statue took a step forward and stomped on the blood-colored battle chi. A loud explosion shook the heavens and the earth. The divine statue was immediately sent flying. Lu Zheng spat out a mouthful of blood, but he did not dare to look away. He stared at the divine statue and roared in his heart. "Ancestor, work harder and crush it." Boom! The divine statue stomped again and the blood-colored battle chi finally dissipated. The dozens of blood-devouring bees also suffered from the backlash and spat out blood. Huh! Ancestor's power is indeed impressive. Kill! Lu Zheng laughed wildly and roared. The divine statue immediately turned around and stepped into the air. He raised the long spear in his hand and slashed at the dozens of blood-devouring bees. Thousands of spear shadows shattered the earth. Thousands of blood-devouring bees did not even have time to scream before they turned into a bloody mist. "Human, you deserve to die." The dozens of 9-star combat Emperor blood-devouring bees were furious when they saw this scene. Boom! Blood-colored waves rose from behind them. More than a dozen beasts appeared in an instant. These were their fighting souls. The appearance of the fighting souls was the same as their bodies. But the difference was, the size of the fighting souls was very large. Each fighting soul was a few hundred feet tall, like a huge mountain. Moreover, these fighting souls were not only blood-red, but their eyes were also glowing with a touch of golden light as if they were cast in gold. Roar! Chapter 1480. Boom! Divine light bloomed in the sky. More than a dozen fighting souls whizzed over. Accompanied by loud clanging sounds, the long spear collapsed and the statue was destroyed. Lu Zheng was sent flying, blood gushing out of his mouth. His face was drained of blood. But there was still one fighting soul left. This fighting soul shook the sky and roared towards Lu Zheng. Looking at this scene, Qin Feiyang shook his head. There was no doubt that the Fire Phoenix technique was powerful, but Lu Zheng's cultivation was still too weak. Quick! At the same time, Fatso shouted. The 2 men and 1 beast quickly killed a bloody path in front of Lu Zheng. Their battle chi surged and turned into a huge wave that rushed towards the fighting soul. Lu Zheng's expression changed and he shouted, "You are no match for it. Get out of the way." But it was too late. The fighting soul whizzed over and the huge wave was instantly annihilated. Fatso, Lu Zheng, and the Phantom Serpent Emperor were immediately sent flying. Their bodies were shattered and blood stained the ground. Lu Zheng said angrily, "Why are you so stupid? I told you to run, so run. What are you waiting for? If we die together. If we live together." Lu Hong said. Lu Zheng was furious. But suddenly, he rolled his eyes and got up in a sorry state. He staggered to Lu Hong's side and said, "Don't tell me you can't bear to part with me. Get lost." Lu Hong was extremely angry. Why was he still so frivolous at this time? "I'm not frivolous. Can't you see that I'm very serious?" Lu Zheng looked aggrieved. He looked up at the fighting soul roaring inside. "Hong, since you're going to die anyway, can you promise me a small request?" "What?" Lu Hong got up and looked at him in confusion. Lu Zheng said, "Kiss me." "Are you asking for a beating?" Lu Hong's face was dark. "This is my only wish. Won't you fulfill it?" Lu Zheng looked at her pitifully. Lu Hong was so angry in her heart. In a life-and-death situation, he actually had the mood to think about these things. What was in this person's head? Suddenly, Lu Zheng took the initiative to lean forward and gave Lu Hong a fierce kiss on her face without holding back. Lu Hong was stunned. How dare he sneak attack her? She touched her face and glared at Lu Zheng, feeling her cheeks burning. "It smells so good. Now, I can die without regrets." Lu Zheng chuckled and turned to look at Zhan Hun. A cold glint flashed in his eyes. Without turning his head, he shouted, "I'll give you another chance. Leave now." Boom! Waves of fire soared into the sky like giant dragons. Fourth style, rising from the ashes. Chirp! In an instant, a huge fire phoenix spread its wings and flew out from the waves of fire. Its body was tens of thousands of feet long. When it spread its wings, it blotted out the sky and covered the sun. Its divine might rolled out in all directions. "Go!" Lu Zheng roared. However, the two men and one beast did not leave. They rushed to Lu Zheng's side and stood side by side. The battle chi in their sea of chi poured out without reservation. Lu Zheng glared at them angrily. "Don't say anything. As a brother, I can't leave you behind and escape alone." Fatso waved his hand. Lu Hong and Spirit Snake Emperor's eyes were also incomparably firm. "You guys." Sigh. Lu Zheng sighed and said with a smile, "Hong, Yes." Lu Hong replied. Lu Zheng said, "If we survive this disaster, can you promise me a small request?" Again? The corners of Fatso and Spirit Snake Emperor's mouth twitched. Lu Hong also looked at him warily. "Don't worry. I won't do any more surprise attacks. I just want to say that if we survive this disaster, can you promise me to go on a date with me?" Lu Zheng said helplessly. Lu Hong hesitated, but looking at the approaching battle soul, she gritted her teeth and nodded. "If we can really escape this disaster, I promise you." Lu Zheng suddenly laughed and shouted, "For this date, even if I have to risk my life, I have to escape. Kill!" He waved his hand, and the fire phoenix in the sky roared and pounced on the battle soul with a destructive aura. With a loud bang, the battle soul disintegrated and dissipated into the world. The fire phoenix soared into the sky, flames surging around its body, and continued to pounce on more than a dozen blood-devouring bees. Is there any use in struggling? The blood-devouring bees' eyes were full of contempt. Blood-colored battle chi surged. A blood dragon condensed and formed. Roar! Chirp! The dragon and phoenix fought, and the world lost its color. Boom! The stalemate lasted for a moment. With a deafening sound, the fire phoenix disintegrated. Puff! Lu Zheng's body and mind trembled. He could not stop retreating, and his life force was gradually dissipating. Lu Zheng. Lu Hong quickly turned and ran up, grabbing Lu Zheng's arm, her face full of concern. He. Seeing you worry about me, even if I die, it's worth it. However, I won't die so easily. Rebirth, Fire Phoenix. Lu Zheng grinned and roared into the sky. Rebirth? Lu Hong, Fatso, and the Spirit Serpent Emperor were surprised. Chirp. In the next moment, a shocking scene appeared. The fire phoenix that had been disintegrated by the blood dragon appeared again and collided with the blood dragon in the sky. Destructive waves of air swept in all directions. The 2 humans and 1 beast were dumbfounded. This is the 4th style of the fire phoenix technique, rising from the ashes. As long as I don't die, it will continue to be reborn. Lu Zheng said proudly. Fatso said in surprise, if that's the case, doesn't that mean we're invincible? Wrong. If my cultivation was higher by 2 or 3 small realms, I would indeed be invincible. But now, defeat is only a matter of time. Lu Zheng sighed. Fatso's heart sank as he looked around. The other blood-devouring bees were also charging towards them from all directions. It was a sea of blood. Who knew how many there were? Facing such a situation, was there any hope of survival? Suddenly, the swarm of bees that were surging towards them stopped. The few of them were surprised. What was going on? Why did they stop? But then, an even more surprising scene appeared. The blood-devouring bees from all directions not only stopped, but also began to retreat quickly. The 3 humans and 1 beast looked at each other, then raised their heads in unison and looked at the dozen or so 9-star combat emperor blood-devouring bees. But the result disappointed them greatly. The dozen or so blood-devouring bees had no intention of retreating. The blood dragon had also been fighting with the fire phoenix. What does this mean? The 3 humans and 1 beast were puzzled. Why did the other blood-devouring bees retreat? Suddenly, a strong sense of uneasiness swept through their bodies and minds. The 3 humans and 1 beast quickly scanned their surroundings. There was nothing unusual around. But the ground under their feet began to tremble violently. Boom! In the next moment, the ground cracked open, and a blood-devouring bee the size of a dustpan burst out from the ground. Retreat! Lu Zheng's expression changed, and he quickly retreated with Lu Hong and the other 2, as well as the Phantom Snake Emperor. But that blood-devouring bee also had the cultivation of a 9-star combat emperor, and it was as fast as lightning, heading straight for Lu Zheng. Bastard! You are 9-star emperor beasts, and you actually used such a despicable method of sneak attack. How despicable! Lu Zheng roared angrily. But before he finished speaking, the ground behind him also cracked open, and another blood-devouring bee the size of a dustpan swept out like lightning. The appearance of this blood-devouring bee was simply too unexpected. The 3 humans and 1 beast couldn't help but close their eyes in despair. But at this moment, a white figure suddenly appeared behind them. It was Qin Feiyang. He looked at the blood-devouring bee with murderous intent surging in his eyes. He raised his hand and slapped it, and a golden light swept out. Return formula. Returning the favor to oneself. The golden light surged out, and the blood-devouring bee was immediately sent flying. Its huge body directly exploded in the void, and blood splattered across the sky. Sensing the familiar aura behind them, Fatso and the others opened their eyes, and a trace of surprise crept up in their eyes. But just as they were about to turn their heads to look, Qin Feiyang flashed and appeared in front of them. Qin Feiyang. Looking at the extremely familiar back, the 3 humans and 1 beast were wild with joy. Sorry, I only just arrived. Qin Feiyang smiled without turning his head, and slapped the air again. The golden light burst out, and the blood-devouring bee in front of him also died on the spot. Your cultivation, Lu Zheng sized up Qin Feiyang in surprise. I just broke through. Qin Feiyang chuckled and raised his head to look at the blood dragon and the dozen or so blood-devouring bees opposite it. The dozen or so blood-devouring bees were also sizing up Qin Feiyang with a trace of surprise in their eyes. A 5-star combat emperor human could actually kill a 9-star the arch-beast in an instant? Come and try my fire phoenix formula. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly. His flaming battle aura rushed into the sky, and a huge fire phoenix appeared. Its mighty divine power shook the clouds. This was the 4th style of the fire phoenix formula, rising from the ashes. Bastard! Lu Zheng cursed in his heart. Chirp! The fire phoenix spread its wings and carried a sea of fire with it as it pounced toward the blood dragon. With Qin Feiyang's addition, the 2 fire phoenixes joined forces and instantly turned the battle into a one-sided one. Boom! In less than 3 breaths, the blood dragon let out a cry and collapsed. Lu Zheng landed beside Qin Feiyang and said unhappily, "It wasn't easy to move Hong, but you stole the limelight again. You should thank me. If I hadn't purposely hidden until now, you wouldn't even have a chance to date her." Qin Feiyang chuckled in his heart. What? You've been here for a long time? Lu Zheng was surprised. Yes. I didn't come out because I was fulfilling your wish. Qin Feiyang thought in his heart. I see. You're indeed blood brothers. Thank you. Lu Zheng laughed in his heart. No, no, no. You're mistaken. We're not blood brothers. We're cousins. There's still some distance between cousins and blood brothers. Qin Feiyang said. You're really arrogant. It's just a polite remark. Don't take it seriously. Lu Zheng glanced at him disdainfully, then looked up at the dozen or so blood-devouring bees and said in his heart, let's not talk nonsense and get rid of them together. Qin Feiyang nodded. Boom! The 2 of them waved their hands, and the 2 fire phoenixes circling in the sky immediately charged toward the dozen or so blood-devouring bees. Go! One of the blood-devouring bees shouted. The dozen or so blood-devouring bees immediately turned around and fled. Weren't you very arrogant just now? Why are you running now? Lu Zheng laughed, his eyes full of contempt, but his heart was full of joy. After being chased for so long, he had a bellyful of resentment. Now that the reinforcements had finally arrived, he naturally couldn't just let it go. The 2 fire phoenixes chased closely. In the end, with a series of miserable howls, the dozen or so blood-devouring bees died one after another under the sharp claws of the fire phoenixes. A wave of qi that seemed to be able to destroy the world came crashing down like a raging wave in a vast ocean, toppling mountains and overturning seas. This is the aura of self-destruction. Lu Zheng was stunned. He turned to look at Qin Feiyang and said, it can't be Gongsun Bei, right? Qin Feiyang's heart sank. He knew Gongsun Bei's character. He would rather sacrifice himself than let others self-destruct. Maybe it really was him. Please don't let it be you. Qin Feiyang murmured and used the phantom steps. His blood-red hair fluttered. He was like a god of death descending to the world as he charged over with Lu Zheng. The parched earth was shattered into pieces. A tragic aura filled the void. The blood-devouring bees were in a boundless swarm. It was impossible to count them. Suddenly, Qin Feiyang saw more than a dozen figures on the ground in front of him. The leader was Gongsun Bei. There were men and women, old and young, but without exception, they were all missing arms and legs. They were dripping with blood and looked extremely miserable. A group of people was charging towards them. No. To be exact, they were running towards them. He's not dead. Qin Feiyang became spirited and quickly rushed over to help. If it was really Gong Sunbei who had self-destructed, he would have regrets in his heart. Damn it. He actually forced Old Feng to self-destruct. If I knew that the divine ruin was so dangerous, I wouldn't have come. At the same time, the people behind Gong Sunbei were roaring with regret. Their faces were filled with helplessness. They thought that the divine ruin was heaven, but it was hell. No. It was scarier than hell. Calm down. What's the use of regretting now? Old Feng self-destructed to open a way for us to survive. We can't let him die in vain. Gong Sunbei shouted. Everyone became silent. Bastards, I'll kill you all. A white-clothed woman suddenly roared and charged towards the swarm of bees. She waved her hand and killed a large number of them. At the same time, 2 8-star combat emperor blood-devouring bees stabbed their stingers into the white-clothed woman's heart. The white-clothed woman immediately cried out in pain. Gong Sunbei's face darkened. He went forward and smashed the 2 blood-devouring bees to save the white-clothed woman. Why are you so impulsive? Gong Sunbei's face was filled with anger. He pulled out the 2 poisonous stingers and took out an antidote pill, stuffing it into the woman's mouth. I really don't want to run anymore. I want to die together with them like Old Feng. The white-clothed woman roared. Obviously. Her mind had collapsed. Suddenly, a white-haired old man accidentally discovered Qin Feiyang and Lu Zheng. His eyes widened and were filled with disbelief. After regaining his senses, he immediately shouted, "Look, are my eyes playing tricks on me? I actually saw Qin Feiyang." What? Qin Feiyang? Everyone's eyes trembled. Gong Sunbei also immediately turned his head. When he saw Qin Feiyang and Lu Zheng, his face was filled with ecstasy. He said, "It's really him. We're saved. Let's go." Hearing Gong Sunbei's words, the group of people seemed to have been injected with chicken blood. They forcibly opened up a bloody path and rushed to meet up with Qin Feiyang. After a while, the 2 groups finally met. Qin Feiyang ran to Gong Sunbei and asked with concern, "Are you okay?" Gong Sunbei said, "I can still hold on. Take this first." Qin Feiyang took out a healing pill with 6 veins and gave it to Gong Sunbei. Then, he looked at the divine envoys behind Gong Sunbei. Including Gong Sunbei, there were a total of 15 people. 2 of them were at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. The rest were 9-star combat emperors. Qin Feiyang said suspiciously, "I sensed 3 peak realm auras earlier. Why are there only 2 now? The one missing is Old Feng. He self-destructed his physical body so that we could escape from the encirclement of the 2 wasp emperors." Gong Sunbei said dejectedly. "What a pity." Qin Feiyang sighed. The birth of a peak 9-star combat emperor not only required a long time, but also a large amount of resources. The old man in white said anxiously, "Don't say so much. The wasp emperors have probably caught up. If we don't leave now, it will be too late." Qin Feiyang nodded and looked at Gong Sunbei. "You take them and leave first. Lu Zheng and I will bring up the rear." "Okay." Gong Sunbei nodded and immediately led a group of people forward. However, after a few steps, the ground in front of them cracked and a giant blood-devouring wasp swept out from the ground. Its body was more than 100 feet long, like a house. Its body was dripping with blood and emitted a monstrous aura. His cultivation had reached the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm. Wasp Emperor. Gong Sunbei and the group immediately braked and retreated to Qin Feiyang's side. They stared at the Wasp Emperor with fear in their eyes. Behind the Wasp Emperor, there was a group of blood-devouring wasps. Chapter 1482. What should we do? The divine envoys panicked. Now, they were all seriously injured and had no strength to fight. Although there were more Qin Feiyang and Lu Zheng, they did not think that the two of them could handle so many 9-star combat emperor's blood-devouring bees. Not to mention the bee empress. You are all divine envoys of the main pagoda. What have you not seen? Why are you so useless now? Can panicking solve the problem? Everyone, calm down. Gong Sunbei shouted. Palace Master, you can't blame them. Since entering the divine site, everyone has been fighting. They are all exhausted. Yes, we don't even have time to rest. Fortunately, everyone's mental fortitude is good enough. Otherwise, they would have collapsed. The two peak combat emperors looked at Gong Sunbei and sighed. Gong Sunbei frowned and turned to look at Qin Feiyang, wanting to say something. Boom! Suddenly, the ground in front of them cracked, and another giant blood-devouring bee appeared with a group of blood-devouring bees. What? The two bee empresses are not dead. Isn't Old Feng's self-destruction meaningless? Damn it! The two peak combat emperors roared in grief. Gong Sunbei was also filled with grief and anger. He thought that the self-destruction could at least kill one bee empress, but in the end, the two bee empresses were only injured. On the surface, the injuries were not serious. The two bee empresses led their people and blocked everyone's path. Their eyes flashed fiercely. There are so many of them? Lu Zheng was surprised. At a glance, there were at least thousands of 9-star combat emperor's blood-devouring bees. There were more of them than now. Although Old Feng's self-destruction did not kill the bee empresses, it killed many 9-star combat emperor's blood-devouring bees. Gong Sunbei said in a low voice. How many were there? Lu Zheng asked. Gong Sunbei said, there were at least 2,000 or 3,000 9-star combat emperor's blood-devouring bees. TSK TSK TSK. Lu Zheng was speechless. Facing so many terrifying blood-devouring bees, it was a miracle that Gong Sunbei and the others could hold on until now. Actually, we had more than 30 divine envoys. Gong Sunbei sighed. It went without saying that those missing people had all died in battle. There are 2 more humans. But it doesn't matter. Kill. The two bee emperors looked at Qin Feiyang and Lu Zheng with disdain. With a loud roar, the 9-star combat emperor's blood-devouring bees swarmed towards Qin Feiyang and the others. You're courting death. Lu Zheng's gaze turned cold. Qin Feiyang waved his hand. You don't need to do anything. Just protect Gong Sunbei and the others. Whatever. Lu Zheng shrugged. Boom. Qin Feiyang's body shook, and an invisible force rolled out. The 4 moves of the ruins of End attacked. His divine might shook the entire area. The blood-devouring bees fell one after another, their blood splashing across the sky. With Qin Feiyang as the center, the area within a radius of half a mile was like an uncrossable lightning pool. Not a single blood-devouring bee could approach. Those that came close would immediately explode and die. This technique, the group of divine envoys was stunned. Boom. Soon after. With the kill art, Qin Feiyang's cultivation level broke through again and stepped into the peak 9-star combat emperor realm. What? This time, even the two bee emperors were stunned. He broke through it this time. Lu Zheng, protect them. Qin Feiyang shouted coldly and took the initiative to attack. He used the phantom steps and pounced on the bee emperor in front of him. Do you think you can compete with me just because you have broken through to the peak realm? Naive. The Wasp Emperor smiled disdainfully as a blood-colored wave surged out and rushed towards Qin Feiyang from all directions. You're the naive one. Let alone the peak realm, even an ordinary 9-star combat emperor can easily kill you. Qin Feiyang sneered. With a wave of his hand, the 3 divine skills, Eclipse and Moon, appeared. With a destructive aura, they crushed the blood-red wave and drowned the Bee Emperor. The Bee Emperor's expression changed and it quickly summoned its battle soul. However, it was useless. The battle soul was destroyed. Immediately after. With a scream, the Bee Emperor's body suddenly exploded and flesh and blood splattered everywhere. Bastard! I'm going to tear you apart. The other Bee Emperor was filled with grief and anger. It activated its battle soul and pounced on Qin Feiyang like a madman. Ant! Qin Feiyang snorted coldly. The divine dragon seal appeared and the dragon's aura rolled out in all directions. With a loud bang, the Bee Emperor died on the spot. Not even its bones were left behind. This, Gongsun Bei and the others were dumbfounded. The 2 Wasp Emperors that gave them a headache and almost took their lives were easily killed by Qin Feiyang just like that? This must be a joke. This strength of his was too terrifying. Master Bee Emperor. The death of the 2 Bee Emperors caused the other blood-devouring bees to fall into endless grief and anger. You damned humans, you should be hacked into pieces. My people, kill them and avenge the 2 masters. Kill. The place was suddenly filled with the sound of killing. In an instant, the endless blood-devouring bees turned into a blood-red wave and pounced on Qin Feiyang and the others from all directions. The eyes of each blood-devouring bee were filled with hatred and resentment. Boom! There were even a few 9-star combat emperor blood-devouring bees that pounced on Qin Feiyang and exploded their bodies. The destructive aura was overwhelming. Qin Feiyang decisively activated the battle character Secret Art and the armor. This double defense could actually block the destructive power of the self-explosion. He was overjoyed. In the future, when he fought with others, he would no longer be afraid of his opponents suddenly exploding and he would not need to hide in the ancient castle. Little cousin, don't just worry about yourself. At this moment, Lu Zheng's anxious voice sounded. Qin Feiyang quivered and hurriedly turned his head to look. He saw that Lu Zheng and the others were covered in wounds under the destructive power of the self-explosion. Especially Gongsun Bei and the group of divine envoys. Blood spurted out from all over their bodies and their bodies were cracking. Qin Feiyang's expression changed. He quickly rushed over and waved his hand to send everyone to the ancient castle. Even the self-explosion couldn't hurt him. How can this human be so terrifying? The surrounding blood-devouring bees were all stunned and they saw Qin Feiyang alive and kicking. I don't believe it. Go to hell with me. A 9-star battle monarch blood-devouring bee let out a furious roar and charged toward Qin Feiyang. Its dustpan-sized body suddenly exploded. But in the end, not only was Qin Feiyang unharmed, but its companions were also killed. This is too terrifying. Even the self-explosion couldn't hurt him. Is he a human or a monster? The swarm of bees panicked. Have you guys had enough fun? It's my turn now. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Like a killing god, he swept into the swarm of bees and killed in all directions. The 2 Bee Emperors had fallen. Now, he didn't need to use the divine art anymore. The 50 sword shadows of the Guiyuan sword art were extremely sharp and invincible. Every time he attacked, a large group of blood-devouring bees would be destroyed. In less than 100 breaths, thousands of 9-star combat emperor blood-devouring bees were killed. Stop killing. We won't fight anymore. I beg you, please have mercy on me, the blood-devouring bees were scared out of their wits. One after another, they crawled on the ground and begged. Qin Feiyang lowered his arm and scanned the surrounding bees. The killing intent in his eyes had not disappeared. "We were wrong. We shouldn't have provoked you. Please be merciful and give us a way out." The group of blood-devouring bees at the front looked at Qin Feiyang pitifully. They were all 8-star combat emperors. The 2 bee emperors and the 9-star combat emperor's blood-devouring bees had been killed. They were now the leaders of the blood-devouring bees. Qin Feiyang's eyes flickered. Suddenly, he deactivated the kill formula and his cultivation quickly dropped to 5-star combat emperor. What's the situation? The blood-devouring bees were surprised. Why would his cultivation suddenly plummet without rhyme or reason? Was he injured? Was he just holding on? An 8-star combat emperor blood-devouring bee roared, "Brothers, he's not as scary as we thought. Let's kill him together." Kill! The swarm of bees once again pounced on Qin Feiyang. Sigh. Qin Feiyang let out a long sigh and shook his head. "I've already given you a chance." "What do you mean?" The blood-devouring bees were surprised. "I deactivated the kill formula in order to test you. If you don't have any evil intentions, I'll definitely give you a way out. Unfortunately, your current performance has greatly disappointed me. In that case, don't blame me for being merciless." As soon as he finished speaking, Qin Feiyang's eyes were filled with murderous intent. A purple-gold divine dragon appeared in the sky and let out a long roar. Divine Dragon's Roar. Waves of invisible sound waves rolled out in all directions like waves. Are all of you thinking right now that I've lowered my cultivation just to test you? Isn't that too stupid? Wrong. I'm not stupid. I'm confident. Even if I'm only a 5-star combat emperor, it's enough to massacre your entire tribe. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. The sound waves roared in the sky. The 8-star combat emperor blood-devouring bees that were charging at the front were accompanied by painful screams as their bodies exploded one after another. Their blood dyed the mountains and rivers red. A 5-star combat emperor's cultivation is so powerful? The swarm of bees was shocked. They quickly prostrated themselves on the ground and begged for mercy in despair. "You only have one chance." Qin Feiyang's eyes were extremely cold. The sound waves continued to rush out, crushing the ground. In just 2 to 3 breaths' time, tens of thousands of blood-devouring bees died on the spot. "He's a demon. Run!" A 7-star combat emperor blood-devouring bee roared. The swarm of bees immediately scattered and began to flee in panic. Kill! At this moment, Ling Yunfei and the others rushed over with murderous intent, leaving behind a sea of corpses wherever they went. "Why are you here?" Qin Feiyang asked with a smile. "You left for a long time and didn't return." "Of course, we were afraid that something would happen to you, so we came to take a look. I didn't expect the blood-devouring bees to be gathered here." "What exactly happened here?" the young lady of the Dragon Phoenix House asked. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu. He said, "I found Fatso and Gongsun Bei here." Fatso. When the two heard this, a trace of joy crept up their faces. "What about little Hongzi, little Zhengzi, and little Worm?" White-Eyed Wolf asked. "They're here too." Chapter 1483. Brother Wolf, why didn't you come earlier? I almost died in the hands of these beasts. Fatty immediately rushed in front of the ingrate, as if he was a little wife who had been wronged, with an aggrieved expression. "Get lost. What's the big deal? Why are you so wronged?" The white-eyed wolf pushed Fatso away, his eyes full of disdain. Fatso looked at the white-eyed wolf in a daze. Why are you looking at me? The white-eyed wolf raised his eyebrows. Fatso sighed deeply and said sadly, You've changed. It seems that you've met a new lover and forgotten me, your old love. Bastard, are you deliberately disgusting me? The white-eyed wolf was furious. Ling Yunfei laughed and said, Damn Fatso, I haven't seen you for so many years, but you're still so funny. Luo Qingzhu couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. Who is it? How dare you call me damn Fatso? Are you looking for death? Fatso immediately frowned and turned to look at Ling Yunfei. At that moment, his eyes widened and he exclaimed, How is this possible? What's going on? Lu Hong, Lu Zheng, and the Phantom Snake Emperor also looked at Ling Yunfei. Lu Hong was also stunned. As for Lu Zheng and the Phantom Snake Emperor, they had never seen Ling Yunfei before, so they naturally didn't know what was going on. Is there an illusion? It seems that Fat Lord's injuries are really serious this time. Fatso came back to his senses, shook his head, and looked at Ling Yunfei again. Why didn't you change? His expression froze again. Was it an illusion? What the hell was that? He shivered and hid behind Qin Feiyang. He stared at Ling Yunfei and shouted, Are you a human or a ghost? When he was alive, Fat Lord had never done anything wrong to you. Don't bother me. Ling Yunfei's face darkened. Luo Qingzhu pursed her lips and smiled, Fatso, take a good look. Fatso then looked at Luo Qingzhu, his eyes almost popping out of their sockets. Are you kidding me? They even came in pairs to find us? Brothers, sisters, hurry up and leave. I'm timid, I can't stand the torment. At most, I'll burn more paper money and ingots for you during festivals in the future to show my filial piety. Fatso looked at the two of them with a long face and begged again and again. A row of black lines appeared on Luo Qingzhu's forehead. This bastard Fatso, why couldn't he say something reasonable? Was he cursing them? Whoosh! Luo Qingzhu took a step forward and slapped Fatso's face. She shouted, Take a good look. Are we humans or ghosts? Ouch ouch ouch. Fatso howled. Wait a minute. Would it hurt? There was still warmth in his hand. There was still a fragrance on his body. So, they were not ghosts? He looked up at the two of them, his eyes full of disbelief. We're not dead. Ling Yunfei laughed. Not dead. Fatso was stunned. He looked at Luo Qingzhu closely and suddenly opened his arms and hugged Luo Qingzhu. Not dead. You're really not dead. What have you been doing all these years? Since you're still alive, why didn't you come back earlier? Do you know how many tears I've shed for you all these years? How many times did I feel sad for you? Fatso was so excited that he was almost incoherent. Go away, go away. Your snot is all over me. Luo Qingzhu pushed Fatso with all her strength, her face full of disgust. No. Compared to my concern for you, this snot is nothing. Bear with it. Fatso snorted coldly. Luo Qingzhu smiled helplessly. Ling Yunfei was also speechless to the extreme. However, the two of them felt warm in their hearts. No matter how unreliable Fatso was, they knew that these words came from the bottom of Fatso's heart. His concern for them and his affection for them could not be erased. Ling Yunfei walked to Lu Hong, opened his arms, and said with a smile, Long time no see. Long time no see. Lu Hong nodded with a smile and stepped forward to give Ling Yunfei a hug. Wait. Seeing this, Lu Zheng immediately pulled the two of them apart and glared at Ling Yunfei. Who the hell are you? How dare you take advantage of Hong, in front of me? Ling Yunfei was stunned, looked at Lu Zheng and said, I know who you are, the genius of the Lu family, Boss Qin's cousin Lu Zheng, but what does my hug with Lu Hong have to do with you? Of course it's my business. Hong is my fiancé. Lu Zheng said confidently. Fiancé? Ling Yunfei was stunned. Luo Qingzhu was stunned. Everyone present was looking at Lu Zheng in shock at this moment. Lu Hong was also stunned. She never thought that such a sentence would come out of Lu Zheng's mouth. Lu Zheng said proudly, "You hug my fiancé in front of me, and you dare to say it's none of my business? Who is your fiancé? Are you having a fever?" Lu Hong came to her senses and immediately glared at Lu Zheng. Lu Zheng grabbed Lu Hong's hand and said aggrievedly, "Hong, so many people are watching, can't you leave me some face? Let go." Lu Hong was angry and ashamed. "No. If I let go, what if you run away?" Lu Zheng shook his head. "So it's like this." Ling Yunfei looked at the two of them and finally understood. He reached out to pat Lu Zheng on the shoulder and said with a sneaky smile, "Cousin, I'm sorry, I was wrong just now. You're quite sensible, boy. I like it." Lu Zheng also laughed sneakily. "Cousin, as long as you don't hold a grudge against me. Let me add one last thing, you have a good eye." Ling Yunfei chuckled. "Of course." Lu Zheng held his head high and chest out, extremely proud of himself. "What are you two whispering about?" Lu Hong looked at the two of them with a frown. "Nothing, nothing." The two of them waved their hands. "I don't believe you." Lu Hong snorted and glanced at Lu Zheng, saying, "I told you to let go, didn't you hear me?" "No. Unless you promise me that you won't leave me for the rest of your life." Lu Zheng said with a stubborn face. Lu Hong looked at the sky and was speechless. She looked at Qin Feiyang and the others for help. Everyone pretended not to see. Qin Feiyang coughed, glanced at Lu Hong, and said to Lu Zheng via voice transmission, "Haste makes waste. She hasn't pushed you away now, which means that she has subconsciously accepted you. Take it slow." "That makes sense." Lu Zheng thought about it and secretly chuckled. He let go of Lu Hong, then smiled ambiguously at Lu Hong, walked to Qin Feiyang, looked at Ling Yunfei and Luo Qingzhu, and said with a smile, "Little cousin, won't you introduce us?" Qin Feiyang said, "His name is Ling Yunfei, and her name is Luo Qingzhu. They are friends I made in the county of Yan." "So it's you. I've heard of your names before, but I've never seen you in person. I'm lucky to meet you today." "Nice to meet you." Lu Zheng cupped his hands and smiled. Luo Qingzhu said with a smile, "You're too kind, young Master Lu. Your name is really well known, especially your elder brother, Lu Jiajin." "Ah. You even know my big brother? It seems that there's an expert behind the two of you." Lu Zheng looked at the two of them meaningfully. Luo Qingzhu said, "You're thinking too much, young Master Lu. We just happened to hear about it." "Huh." Lu Zheng laughed and did not ask any more questions. He ran to Lu Hong's side and fawned over her. Ling Yunfei glanced at Lu Zheng and said via voice transmission, "Boss, your cousin may look frivolous on the surface, but he's actually a very shrewd person." Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and said, "If he didn't have a brain, second grandpa wouldn't have let him follow me." "Then what's second grandpa's purpose in letting him follow you?" Ling Yunfei asked secretly. Qin Feiyang said, "Probably to protect me." "Then it seems that the Lu family is quite good to you." Ling Yunfei said secretly. Qin Feiyang nodded and asked, "How much beehive did you get?" "A lot. At least enough for us to squander for a few years. And there's still a lot that we haven't had time to collect." Ling Yunfei smiled. "Beehive?" The group of oracles looked at each other, their eyes full of surprise. Gong Sunbei looked at Qin Feiyang and asked curiously, "The beehive you're talking about, is it the beehive of the blood-devouring bees?" Qin Feiyang nodded. Gong Sun Bei said, I heard that the beehive of the blood-devouring bees is a great treasure. I've tasted it. The rumors are true. A drop of beehive is comparable to 1,000 battle chi pills and healing pills. Qin Feiyang smiled and looked at Ling Yunfei. Take out 15 drops of beehive and let them have a taste. At the same time, help them heal their injuries. Okay. Ling Yunfei nodded. A light flashed in front of him and 15 drops of beehive appeared. Thank you. Gong Sun Bei cupped his hands and thanked him. He waved his hand and 15 drops of beehive flew in front of him. He looked at the group of oracles and smiled, come on, 1 drop each. The group of oracles glanced at Qin Feiyang and immediately stepped forward, each taking a drop. Immediately, a surge of majestic energy spread through their bodies. The fatigue from before was instantly swept away, and they were hale and hearty. The bleeding wounds and broken limbs were also healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. And the most obvious was the battle chi. In less than 10 breaths, the lost battle chi was replenished. This is really a miracle pill. The group of oracles exclaimed. Qin Feiyang smiled faintly and raised his head to look in other directions. The swarm of bees had fled far away, but he could still vaguely see some traces of blood-devouring bees. Li Jian asked, Young master, why don't we chase after them? Anyway, the slightly stronger blood-devouring bees are already dead. There's no need to kill them all. Besides, if we kill them all, we won't be able to get such valuable beehive in the future. Qin Feiyang smiled. That makes sense. Li Jian nodded. But, Qin Feiyang said again, his eyes flickering. But what? Everyone looked at him suspiciously. Qin Feiyang turned his head to look at Ling Yunfei and smiled, subdue them and let them enter your space divine item. This way, we will have endless battle chi pills. Good idea. Ling Yunfei nodded. Fatso and the others also agreed. Endless battle chi pills. The group of oracles standing behind Gong Sun Bei heard this, and a glint flashed in their eyes. The next moment, the 2 old men at the peak of the 9-star combat emperor realm looked at each other and rushed out, landing behind Lu Hong. One of the old men immediately slapped Lu Zheng's back. Puff! Lu Zheng suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood and flew out like a meteorite. Chapter 1484. Qin Feiyang and the others were startled. They quickly looked over and paled. Even Gong Sun Bei was caught off guard. After coming back to his senses, Qin Feiyang immediately stepped forward and caught Lu Zheng, asking, Are you all right? Lu Zheng ignored his own injuries and immediately looked at the 2 old men. He shouted, What are you doing? Let go of Hong, One of the old men smiled. The more you show concern, the more valuable this woman is. Humph. Qin Feiyang coldly snorted. Don't move. Otherwise, don't blame this old man for being ruthless. The old man holding Lu Hong stared at Qin Feiyang warily and smiled coldly. Qin Feiyang's eyes flashed coldly. Don't forget that I saved you just now. Yes. You saved us. But so what? You can only blame yourself for being too stupid. The 2 sneered. Impudent. Gong Sun Bei suddenly became furious. He glared at the 2 and shouted, Is this how you repay kindness with enmity as the divine envoys of the main tower? I order you to release her immediately. Temple Master, you're stupid. Don't you know what kind of person Qin Feiyang is? Even if he saved us now, he'll find an excuse to kill us sooner or later. Maybe he saved us for an ulterior motive. The 2 said. I know what kind of person Qin Feiyang is better than any of you. Release Lu Hong immediately. I'll plead with Qin Feiyang for you. I believe he'll let you go for my sake. Gong Sun Bei said. Let you go? Not now. The two old men chuckled and turned to look at the other 12 divine envoys. What are you still standing there for? Come here. How dare you? Gongsun roared. The 12 oracles looked at the two old men and then at Gongsun. It was hard for them to make a choice. Temple Master, this old man knows that you are a righteous person, but don't forget what the Chief Tower Master told us before we left. That's right. The Chief Tower Master has ordered us to eliminate Qin Feiyang and his henchmen as soon as we have the chance. And now is a good opportunity. This woman is in our hands. No matter how capable Qin Feiyang is, he can only hold back from shooting at the rat for fear of breaking the vases. So, Palace Master, please don't let your emotions affect your decisions. The two old men said. Hearing those words, the 12 divine envoys decisively stood together with the two old men. Simultaneously, the eyes of Qin Feiyang, Fatso, and the others were also filled with coldness and killing intent. Who would have thought that the Chief Pagoda Master would give such an order? Getting rid of them as soon as they had the chance, how vicious. Boss, let's do it. With Lu Hong's current strength, even if that old bastard attacked, she would at most be seriously injured. She won't lose her life. Fatso messaged. Don't be in such a hurry. Qin Feiyang waved his hand and looked at Gongsun. He wanted to see what Gongsun would do. Gongsun lowered his head, seemingly struggling in his heart. A moment later, he raised his head and looked at Qin Feiyang. Then, he looked at the two old men and shook his head. I don't dare to forget Chief Tower Master's orders, but I, Gongsun, can't do such a thing. Qin Feiyang smiled. He had not misjudged Gongsun. But the two old men became angry and shouted, Are you going to disobey the Chief Tower Master's order? I don't dare. I will carry out the Chief Tower Master's order, but not now. Now, as the Temple Master of the Oracle Hall, I order you to release her immediately. Gongsun shouted. Carry it out? If you lose this opportunity, do you think you can kill Qin Feiyang with your strength? Temple Master, the winner is the king, the loser is the bandit. As long as we win, who cares what methods we use? Let's talk about it later. As long as we kill him, everything he has, including the castle, Changshui, and the beehive they collected before, will be ours. This is a win-win deal. The two old men tried to persuade him. I care. Although others won't say it, my conscience will be uneasy. And it will be uneasy for the rest of my life. I'll say it one last time, release her. Gongsun shouted. The two old men looked at each other and shook their heads at Gongsun. Temple Master, you have really disappointed us. A kind person like you is not suitable to be the Temple Master of the Oracle Hall. What do you want to do? Gongsun raised his eyebrows, feeling uneasy. Today, Qin Feiyang must die. Since you can't do it, then step aside and watch. If you dare to interfere, humph. Then don't blame us for being disrespectful and killing you too. The two old men snorted coldly, not hiding the killing intent in their eyes. Gongsun was furious. In fact, he was saving everyone. Because in the main tower, no one knew Qin Feiyang better than him. Qin Feiyang cared about his companions the most. Attacking his companions was tantamount to touching his reverse scale, and there would not be a good ending. But he also understood. These people had already made up their minds and would not listen at all. So the anger in his heart could only turn into a long sigh. Then, he slowly walked to the two old men and turned to look at Qin Feiyang. Qin Feiyang said, Is this your choice? I have no choice. Between you and the main tower, I have to make a choice. I don't ask for your forgiveness, I just hope you can understand. Gongsun sighed. Understand, Qin Feiyang murmured and looked at Gongsun Bei with a smile. Then I want to ask, I have done so many things over the years, why can't anyone understand me? Gongsun Bei was silent. Qin Feiyang shook his head and murmured, wrong is wrong, right is right. Since you have made a choice, you have to pay the price. I am willing to pay the price. Gongsun Bei said. Seeing Gongsun Bei express his position, the two old men laughed. One of them sneered, Qin Feiyang, your road has come to an end. Immediately tell your people to cripple their own cultivation, including yourself. Sigh. Why are there always so many people in this world who think they are smart? Qin Feiyang sighed. You think too highly of them. This is not being smart, it is courting death. Fatso sneered. Cut the crap. Hurry up and do it. Otherwise, I will crush her throat. The old man holding Lu Hong shouted impatiently. Qin Feiyang narrowed his eyes, and murderous intent burst out of his eyes. But at this moment, Gongsun Bei suddenly turned around, grabbed Lu Hong's arm, and snatched her from the old man's hands. Temple Master, you, the old man's face was blank. The other old man and the other oracles were also caught off guard. Not to mention them. Even Qin Feiyang and the others did not expect this. Gongsun Bei waved his hand again and pushed Lu Hong in front of Qin Feiyang. Lu Zheng immediately went forward and grabbed Lu Hong's hand, his face full of concern, and asked, Are you okay? I'm fine. But you should be quite injured after being hit by his palm. Hurry up and take this healing pill. Lu Hong took out a healing pill and handed it to Lu Zheng. Feed me. Lu Zheng opened his mouth. I really don't know what to do with you. Lu Hong glared at Lu Zheng and put the healing pill into Lu Zheng's mouth. Hong, you're so nice. Lu Zheng smiled foolishly, his face full of happiness. Lu Hong shook her head helplessly and turned to look at Gongsun Bei. Her eyes flashed. Temple Master, what are you doing? You ruined such a good opportunity just like that. The oracles all glared at Gongsun Bei. Shut up, all of you. We are the oracles of the main tower. No matter what we do, we must be above board. I hope that in the future, you will not bring shame to the main tower. Gongsun Bei shouted coldly and looked at Qin Feiyang. I have returned Lu Hong to you, and I also solemnly apologize to you on their behalf. I hope you can let them go. You had a chance to kill him, but you didn't want it. Now you are begging for mercy. You are asking for humiliation. You have failed the main tower lord's high hopes and betrayed his will. You are not qualified to be our temple master. The two old men's eyes instantly turned red. Whoosh! The two of them attacked at the same time and destroyed Gongsun Bei's sea of qi with lightning speed. Gongsun Bei looked at them in disbelief. Qin Feiyang and the others were also dumbfounded. They never thought that these people would attack Gongsun Bei. One of the old men snorted and grabbed Gongsun Bei by the throat. He stared at Qin Feiyang and said, Although we don't know what happened between you and Gongsun Bei, we can see that you care about each other very much. Qin Feiyang frowned. The old man smiled sinisterly. If you want him to live, destroy your own cultivation immediately. Don't test this old man's patience. I admit that I admire him. But if you use him to threaten me, then I can only apologize to you. Qin Feiyang smiled coldly. Whoosh! As soon as he finished speaking, the Scorpion Emperor, the four beasts, and Li Jian immediately rushed out like hungry wolves, pouncing on the group of people. You really don't care? The old man looked a little flustered. Up to you. Qin Feiyang said lightly. I miscalculated. Damn it! The old man cursed. He grabbed Gongsun Bei and threw him toward the four beasts and Li Jian. Then he turned around and left without looking back. Seeing this, The other old man and the other oracles also turned around and ran for their lives. Li Jian waved his hand and caught Gong Sunbei. He turned his head and looked at Qin Feiyang with an inquiring gaze. "Keep chasing. I want him alive," Qin Feiyang said. "Understood." Li Jian nodded and put Gong Sunbei down. He waved his hand and led Zhou Zheng and the Scorpion King to chase after the group of people. The young lady of the Dragon Phoenix house looked at the disappointed Gong Sunbei and walked to Qin Feiyang's side. She whispered, "You really don't care about him?" "Of course I care. But if I didn't say so, would they let Gong Sunbei go so easily? Besides, this is a good opportunity for me." You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.